Atoll. As you can tell by the uniforms we're wearing, this is an Army installation. Right? So we don't have a huge footprint of military folks on this island. There's about, with the CVs here, there's about 30 of us. There's about 60 to 80 Department of the Army civilians depending on hiring cycles. Over 1,000 contractors and 1,200 Marshall League's teammates working on the installation. So very unique and upside down kind of pyramid for what a typical Army installation will look like. But that'll become important, considering that will become important later when we start talking about some of the uniqueness that Kwaj is, right? So I've told this story numerous times to my team and everyone I get a chance to talk to. Garrisons themselves are unique in the Army, like most traditional force units don't understand. They just know their power is on and they get all their utilities and their services and stuff shows up when they need it, but they don't know what goes on in the background. But among garrisons, there's 80 of them in the Army. Right? We are the most unique garrison in the Army, right? And so there's a lot of things that come into play with that. Some very unique aspects of working out in the middle of nowhere that really drives a lot of the things that we do. Something that we'll touch upon here in the next hour while me and CSM are talking is the fact that this isn't a place you come to because you want to. Right? Every person on this island has a role that supports the U.S. government's numerous lines of efforts across the U.S. government's achievement of national security interests across 9 primary mission partners and about 6 other mission partners. Each of those mission partners across the organization have national security objectives they're trying to meet for the U.S. government, and we are here to synchronize and integrate those activities and make sure they have the best possible services so they can achieve those goals for the U.S. government. Right? So we'll talk a little bit more about that in depth, but first what we'd like to do is kick this off with a Newcomers video. Now this video we put together a couple years ago. It's much better than the original. It was like kind of the 80s, like big hair, parachute pants. It was awesome. But that one was only like 3 minutes. This one's 18 minutes long. So I know we're after lunch here. Try to stay awake. There's some coffee in the background if you're having a hard time. But for those folks who've been here not very long, raise your hands if you've been here less than a month. Okay, so this is going to fill in a lot of gaps in your knowledge you probably haven't figured out already. If you've been here longer, you might know a lot of this stuff, but hopefully you can take 1 or 2 things out of it. So we're going to go ahead and get the video kicked up. We'll turn some lights off in the back and then try to stay awake. Thank you.
Welcome to U.S. Army Garrison Kwajalein Atoll. You are among the lucky few people who get to call this beautiful tropical military base home. This orientation video is meant to provide you a quick overview of most of the community-facing services and facilities available to residents. Fresh off the plane, as a new resident, your first stop will likely be the housing office. At the time of the creation of this video, the housing office has been temporarily relocated from its site at the Kwaj Lodge building to the Coral BQ, first floor, room 1. At the housing office, you'll do your paperwork and pick up the keys to your assigned quarters, which on Kwajalein will range from 3 and 2 bedroom homes to 1 bedroom homes and bachelor quarters. Everyone will be requested to set up an Army Maintenance or ARMA account. Using this service, you can report problems with your quarters, such as faulty light fixtures. Notified via ARMA, Public Works employees will later come out and fix any problems you might have. You might be hungry after you land. All approved BQ residents receive a meal card that they can use to eat at the Zamperini dining facility 3 times a day at no extra cost to them. The Zamp is open daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Its salad bar is crammed with a wide variety of fresh veggies flown in weekly, and the hot food lines serve up everything from T-bone steaks to enchiladas and much more. And on select days, non-meal card holders may purchase meals at the facility.
Really, that's every day of the week.
Surfway is Kwajaleин's supermarket. The store is constantly replenished via weekly flights and regular cargo ships, providing everything from frozen treats to your basic staples and plenty of fresh vegetables. The store is open 6 days a week, and take note that only people with approved badges may shop at the Surfway. The Kwajalein Hospital's services are available to all residents. Non-emergency appointments take place Tuesday through Saturday, but emergency services are available 24/7. The hospital employs a rotating list of doctors, physician assistants, nurses, and other specialists, including surgeons. The hospital is equipped with a streamlined selection of technology, featuring triage capabilities, inpatient surgery, radiological services, emergency rooms, and outpatient care. Prescriptions can be filled locally at the hospital's pharmacy, and the laboratory handles a wide array of work from drug screenings to metabolic panels, and there's even a physical therapy service available. Located in this building, you'll find the dental clinic. Open during the regular work week, the clinic is the sole source for regular services like teeth cleanings, x-rays, fillings, and exams, and even crown and bridge work. Call to book your appointments early because spots fill up fast. And be advised that serious dental surgery needs to be performed off-island. If you brought out a pet, the vet clinic, which is part of the Kwaj Hospital team, is here for you. The on-island vet tech can handle routine care, such as immunizations and more. Specialty care must be taken care of off-island. Probably the most popular place on the island is the Army Post Office. Every approved resident or household is assigned a P.O. box. All packages are picked up at the package window 5 days a week. If you need to mail any packages, head inside and make sure you have your customs form handy. Your helpful postal clerk will be there to guide you along the way. On military bases, MWR stands for Morale, Welfare, and Recreation. The Army's local MWR department on Kwaj is a heavy hitter when it comes to providing the Kwajalein community with all the varieties of activities and services to keep Kwaj fun. The MWR office is located in Building 805. The office shares space with the Grace Sherwood Library. Here you can check out some books and see the staff at the front desk about reserving facilities, such as the Adult Recreation Center kitchen and beach pavilions. You can rent tablecloths, party tents, and chairs for any shindig you might want to plan. And you can rent facilities like CRC Room 6, CRC Room 1, and get access to the CRC gym. One of the biggest draws at the MWR office is the golf cart rental service. This allows you to choose from a variety of faithful steeds to get you where you need to go. You'll need to get yourself a license, of course, and obey all traffic rules on the island. Hugging Kwajalein Lagoon is the small boat marina, where you can rent e-boats. See the guys at the front desk about when the next boating class is scheduled, and then hit the open water. Kwajalein Lagoon and the open ocean waters surrounding are some of the most beautiful in the world. MWR offers several male, female, and co-ed sports leagues throughout the year. Softball, basketball, inner tube water polo, volleyball, and soccer are the mainstays. Pay your greens dues at the MWR office if you want to enjoy the island's 9-hole golf course. The Corlett Recreation Center gym is also open on a regular basis for indoor basketball. There's also the IB gym, where you can shake off that weight and pump some sweet iron. It is open 24/7 and welcome to all people on the island. And don't forget about the greatest bowling alley in the Marshall Islands.
The only one.
Kwajalein bowling facility is open during weekends and is a swell place to try to hit that elusive 300 score or host a party. MWR also puts on several major celebrations throughout the year. The annual tree lighting ceremony in early December is a major hit. There's also a slew of other annual holiday events like Memorial Day beach bashes, Independence Day parties, and much more. Many of the beach parties take place at Emon Beach. It's probably the most popular spot to take in those Micronesian sunsets and enjoy the waters of the lagoon under the watchful eye of MWR lifeguards. Lifeguards are also on the job during open hours at the Milliken Family Pool, a popular place for children of all ages to hit the water. A little bit south of the family pool is the adult pool, and you guessed it, it's for adults only. Come out and soak up some sun before smashing into the water in the form of a giant cannonball. Get your wind-whipped hairdo done at Surfside Salon, but be sure to call ahead and schedule your appointment early. The salon pros can handle any style of cut, including hair dyes and other specialty services when available. Perhaps the happiest place on the island is Kwajalein Hobby Shop. It is a humming pottery workshop that draws artisans of all ages and skill sets to the facility. They try their hand at a wide variety of pottery creations. Adjacent to the hobby shop is the wood shop. You'll need to go through a safety orientation to use the wood shop facility, which boasts a wide assortment of planers, table saws, drill presses, and more. Use of both the hobby shop and the wood shop is covered by seasonal or single-use passes, purchasable through MWR. Cruise on over to the Adult Recreation Center if you want to host a party, watch a movie in its viewing room, play darts, kick some butt and pool, use the facility's kitchen, play ping pong, cruise the internet, or beat that pinball high score. The ARC is protected by a cipher lock, and the entry code can be obtained by asking the staff at the MWR office. Kwaj traditionally screens movies at the Yuck Theater and the Richardson Theater. At the time of the creation of this video, the Richardson Theater is being rebuilt, so the Yuck Theater it is. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday nights are the usual movie nights at the Yuck. MWR also sets up inflatable movie screenings around the island throughout the year, so keep your eyes peeled for the next opportunity to watch a movie under the stars. Kwaj has 2 bars. The Ocean View Club, open 7 nights a week, is the site for regular MWR parties and features a healthy assortment of adult beverages. A mile away, the Country Club is open a few days a week and is a popular spot for golfers after hitting the links. When you feel the need to absolve yourself of your sins after a night at the Ocean View Club, Kwaj Island and Memorial Chapel is always available to you. Featuring a Protestant and Catholic chaplain, the church hosts several services each Sunday morning, along with many religious and community events throughout the year. Kwaj Junior-Senior High School features excellent teacher-to-student ratios. Teachers instruct students in a rich assortment of curriculum, including several AP courses and music and band. Each May, the school celebrates its seniors' achievements in a festive graduation ceremony before the young adults head out into the open world. The George Sites Elementary School is down the street. Also featuring a stellar teacher-to-student ratio, the school has beautiful classrooms and dedicated teachers. Your youngin' will have all he or she needs to propel further, both inside the classroom and outside during recess. The local Army Child and Youth Services Department is a hit among families with children. CYS offers daycare and preschool services, along with CYS Youth Sports Leagues and programs for teenagers. The Namaweto Teen Center is available to all teens, and is the place to be to enjoy extracurricular programs, play board games, and socialize with other teens. If you want to take some time off the rock, you might consider flying to Roy to spend a weekend. The Kwaj Lodge Transient Building Office is where you would normally head to set up a reserved room on Roy. But again, at the time of the creation of this video, the Kwaj Lodge office is temporarily located at Kola BQ Room 1. Setting up rooms at the Transient Building Office is a cinch. You'll pay your fee, pick up your keys, fly to Roy, and spend the weekend in a room in one of several BQs available to transient lodging. Keeping you up to date on everything you need to stay informed are the Media Services Public Affairs folks. The Kwaj Hourglass is one of the longest-serving military publications, and is the main source of garrison-vetted news, announcements, features, and photography. The Hourglass is published once per week and can be found on the Garrison's Facebook page. Now, if you don't have Facebook, you can find the Hourglass posted on the Space and Missile Defense Media website. Alternatively, the University of Florida's Digital Military Collection boasts one of the most complete archives of Hourglass issues, dating back to 1961. The Kwaj Current is a bi-weekly current events, news, and lifestyle video program. It includes everything from community event coverage to funny PSAs and even April Fool's spoofs. You can find it easily on the Garrison's YouTube channel. As for radio and TV, Kwajalein's American Forces Network station downlinks via satellite contemporary radio programming, primetime TV programming, movies, news, sports, and more, and broadcasts the content locally over the air. If you live in family housing, you'll need to get yourself an outdoor TV antenna to pick up the signals, while BQ folks use a shared antenna on their BQ roofs. Do note that on Kwajalein, all TV sets must have their channel sources set to antenna or air, not cable. If your contract is taking you to Roy, your post will be about 50 miles north-northwest of Kwajalein. You'll soon be endearingly referred to as a Roy Rat, a self-imposed nickname for Roy residents. One of your first ports of entry after landing on Roy will be to head over to the Outrigger building. Inside, you'll head to the billeting office, where you'll do your paperwork and pick up the keys to your new BQ quarters. As on Kwaj, you'll be requested to set up an ARMA account to report any maintenance problems in your living quarters. On Roy, in case you get injured, never fear. The Roy Dispensary is here. Located in the terminal building, this is the place you head for medical services and emergencies on Roy. For serious emergencies, Roy residents will be transferred to the Kwajalein Hospital during daylight hours. But the Roy Dispensary can handle services such as trauma management and routine treatment of some chronic ailments. Roy's post office, located also in the terminal building, is an offshoot of Kwajaleин's post office. Several times a week, the commuter aircraft delivers mail from Kwajalein to Roy. Package pickup and package mailing services are available at the same window. Hours may vary, so be sure to check the posted schedule. Cafe Roy is one of the more popular sites on Roy no More. Like the Zamperini cafeteria, Cafe Roy is open daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Its salad bar is crammed with a wide variety of fresh vegetables flown in weekly, and the hot food lines serve up a wide variety of savory dishes. Like Kwaj, all approved Roy residents receive a meal card that they can use to eat at the facility 3 times a day at no extra cost to them. The Roy Surfway is a small supermarket where residents of both Roy and the neighboring Third Island can come to buy basic staples, frozen items, and produce. Take a moment and say hello to your local Islander neighbors and stock up on everything from bananas and potatoes to Spam and peppers. The Outrigger Bar and Grill is where all the action takes place on Roy. It's located in, you guessed it, the Outrigger building. Its enclosed bar features pool tables and darts, an extensive drink selection, and a short order snack bar. The snack bar's signature dish is the Missile Burger, but pizza, salads, quesadillas, and more are available. You'll find many of the MWR holiday parties taking place here, along with events featuring karaoke and live music when available. As on Kwajalein, most of the island recreation activities are managed by Roy's own MWR department. The Roy Small Boat Marina, located next to the Roy Surfway, is one of the bigger programs under MWR on Roy. Visit the front desk to inquire when you can sign up for B-boat classes and then get behind the wheel to go fishing, diving, or cruising in some of the finest tropical waters in the world. Also under MWR's wing, you've got the Roy Library, located in the Outrigger building. A fully equipped gym is across the hall. It has everything from free weights and machines to treadmills and even punching bags. Down the hall is the Roy Barbershop, where Kwajalein hairstylists come during select days to provide haircutting and styling services. Anyone can go out and enjoy the island's 9-hole golf course. There are volleyball courts also, and arguably the best adult pool in all of Micronesia, fit for you to do your laps and score some diving board points in style. Roy no More also has a hobby shop. This is where the island's artisans come to ply their crafts, such as kiln-fired pottery and woodworking. Inquire with the Roy MWR office about how to get access and pay your fees. Check out the C Building if you want to gather around with your friends and watch a movie, or cook up a home-cooked meal in the facility's full kitchen. Be sure to clean up after yourself after you're finished. If you want to watch a movie on the big screen, head to the Trade Winds Theater Saturday and Sunday nights. This is where MWR plays new releases as they become available to the garrison. The alternate location for movies in case of equipment failure is usually the C Building. As for radio and TV, Roy has most of the channels available on Kwaj. Content is delivered to Roy via fiber optic cable. Thus, opposite to Kwaj, Roy residents must set their TV channel sources to cable, not antenna or air. Finally, Roy has a small chapel, with the Kwajalein chaplains flying up to the island regularly to conduct services for the small population. Be sure to check with the chaplains on Kwajalein about their schedules on Roy. So that wraps up this orientation video. Enjoy your time on Kwajalein Atoll. It's one of the most unique experiences you'll ever have.
Right. Hey, Chad. Hey, sir. How you doing? Awesome. Want to get that light for me? I would love to. Right. All right. First and foremost, I appreciate everyone staying awake during that. Sometimes it's hard. I've seen it like 24 times, 25 times, so if not more. So what I want to do is take a few minutes, kind of just walk you through why we're here, what the garrison does, and why this garrison is important to the United States government. I'm not going to read the mission statement or our lines of efforts, but I'm going to highlight three things, right? We're here to support our mission partners, right? Achieve their national security objectives, right? We're here to increase and embolden the relationship we have with the RMI, right? The RMI are they're critical partners, not only locally in the theater, but also internationally as well. And the U.S. government puts high prioritization on the relationship we've built over decades with the government of the RMI. And lastly, it's about improving and supporting the community as best as possible. It's really what gets down to the three fundamental functions of what this garrison does. Next slide. And so just a little bit of uniqueness about Kwaj. I think I talked about this already, right? We've got an upside down triangle. Not a lot of military, so I'm not going to recap it here. I'll talk most of the stuff on the next slides. Okay, so why is the U.S. government here, right? And so if you haven't, many of you probably knew you were coming here. Raise your hand if you never heard of Kwaj before. Again, go look on the map to figure out where it was, right? And so we're out in the middle of nowhere, right? We're about 2,200 miles away from Hawaii, Philippines, Australia, out in that sweet spot just above the equator, right? But the location of this installation in the Pacific is highly sought after, right? There's a reason. You look at as far back as the Germans occupied the region before World War I. After World War I, they lost it. The Japanese took over stewardship. There you go. After World War I up to World War II, right, the treaty did outline that they weren't supposed to weaponize or militarize the atoll. They did. That's right. So during World War II, the U.S. took it with Operation Flintlock, right? The Marines took Kwaj. And the Army took Kwaj, and Roy took, and the Marines took Roy. And the U.S. government had kind of stewardship of the Marshall Islands up until about 1986, when the RMI got their independence and became a sovereign nation, right? And so why has the U.S. continued to put so much money, effort, emphasis on us? It really gets into strategic location, right? We're about 6.5 degrees above the equator, out in the middle of the Pacific. Very ideal for doing long-range weapons testing, right? So if you look at the history, and I highly encourage you to dig into the history of why the U.S. government's interested in Kwaj, you'll find out that location, right, that away from prying eyes out in the middle of nowhere, was very unique and provided us a lot of access to be able to test new prototype weapon systems, new prototype radars. You look at the modern-day equivalent of the sensors you see across the Army, not only in space domain awareness sensor sets, but THAAD radars, Aegis radars. A lot of those technologies were developed here, right? Intercontinental ballistic missile testing, all the current systems were all prototyped and developed here, right? Missile defense systems were tested here, right? The first successful intercept of an intercontinental ballistic missile was done here, right? So a lot of those technologies are developed here because of the unique location and the geography of the atoll that makes it, that optimizes it for the missions that we do out here, right? And so why is that the case, right? Well, we're one of the largest natural atolls, if not the largest natural atoll in the world, right? There's 1,150 square miles of ocean inside the atoll, right? With the U.S. government having responsibility of 11 defense sites spread out across the atoll, right? Kwaj down here, Roy up here, and then you got a bunch of the other sites, Mex being the third biggest, and then 8 other sites spread out across the atoll with various levels of technology, telemetry, sensor packages spread out across the atoll. What's unique about us and why we liked it so much is early years we used to do a lot of ICBM testing and drop them into the lagoon. Right? You can go back to those museums, and we used to have a submarine. I already have a ton of stuff that makes us unique, but having a submarine would like be the trifecta, right? But because we used to have to recover those RVs, those reentry vehicles, in the lagoon, so bad guys couldn't get a hold of them. But as our sensor suites and our telemetry became more advanced, we started to be able to drop on the outside of the lagoon. So we have 2 impact ranges on both the east and west side of the atoll. And if you don't know anything about the geography here, most continents have a long continental shelf. Right? We don't have that here. Right? Less than a mile offshore, you're at 6,000 to 10,000 feet deep. Right? 2 miles, you're at like 12,000 feet deep. Right? It's a very steep, almost mountain kind of cliff, which is why tsunamis are rarely an issue here. Right? There's not enough area or distance to build up wave energy to have an issue. Right? Not that it's not possible, anything's possible. But because of that geography, it's easy for us to drop RVs into the deep ocean and not worry about it. Right? No one's going to 12,000 feet to recover an RV. Right? So pretty unique operations that we do here. And RTS will talk more if they're here. If not, I'll talk their stuff. But so how are we here? Right? There's 2 primary treaties that allow us to operate and continue to operate. First is the Compact of Free Association. Right? It's an agreement we entered with the RMI almost 37 years ago, following their independence. And it basically allows the RMI a lot of advantages, primarily the access to U.S. funds and programs. Right? So the RMI can compete for U.S. grants, U.S. money across Department of Interior, Department of Energy, any of those forms, just like any other state or any other territory in the U.S. We also get visa-free travel in the United States, which is why we have such a large population of Marshallese living in the United States. About 50% of their entire population lives in the U.S. Right, last census had about 50,000 Marshallese living in the U.S. There's about 50,000 living, if that, probably more like 40,000 living here in the country. And so that's the compact, right? And then we have the MURA, right? The Military Use Operation Rights Agreement that we share with the RMI. That gives us the responsibility for the defense of the Marshall Islands, right? We are the military of the Marshall Islands. And with that, we get free and unfettered access militarily to the Marshall Islands and their national sovereign land, airspace. So that's a significant advantage to the U.S. national security. We don't have to ask militarily what we do. But with that, they also get, so we pay for land, right? We lease this land. Right now, this year is about $24 million to lease 11 defense sites spread across the total, right? That's cheap, right? Just the land alone in Kwaj, you could get that anywhere else in the world for that much, which is why the U.S. is really up in their game this year. We're currently in compact negotiations with round 3 of the compact. RMI's asked for a lot more money, and the U.S. is willing to cough that up because you cannot buy the level of access we have here in modern days anymore. No country would be willing to enter a like agreement like we have with the Marshall Islands right now. So it's pretty critical to the U.S.'s national security objectives out here. Next slide. And so we're going to talk a little bit about RTS. So like I said, we have 9 primary mission partners here on the island. RTS, the Reagan Test Site, is our largest. In fact, RTS works for SMDC, Space Missile Defense Command. Right? Their boss is Lieutenant General Carpenter, who's also my boss. He's the senior commander here as well, but as a space operations officer, which I am, he's also my boss when I leave here. Right? And so RTS is our largest mission partner. About 25 to 30% of the entire community works for RTS in one way or the other. Right? And so just to give you a little idea of why that's important, they're our primary mission partner. There's a lot of other mission partners out here. We're going to talk a little bit about RTS. Next slide. Again, I can't talk it as well as the RTS team, but we do a lot of really cool stuff. So that example I told you about the first successful intercept of an intercontinental ballistic missile, non-nuclear, that's how we did it early, was to destroy nuclear weapons with nuclear weapons. We stopped doing that. And that was right there. It's actually hanging in the National Air and Space Museum right above the space shuttle. If you get out there, look for it. It was a significant advancement in technology and really set the course for non-nuclear missile defense that we currently have today. Like kinetic, hit-to-kill capabilities that the U.S. has. But all that testing, all that prototype across interception, missile defense, ICBM, radar technology across the U.S.'s arsenal is all developed here and really leads the way for the way in which the Army, the DoD, is going forward in the future for not only missile defense, but ICBM development, space domain awareness, those type of things. Next slide. So what are we doing now, right? We have stuff that is kind of historically been doing for years. There's something called glory trips. This is basically the U.S.'s testing of our ICBM fleet. We do it quarterly. We announce it to everyone in the world to let them know we're launching a unarmed nuclear weapon, right, an ICBM, to do testing. We do those routinely. You'll see them in your time here. If you're here for more than 6 months, it's very likely you'll be here during one of those tests. I highly encourage trying to find out when it's going to happen because it makes one hell of a light show when you see reentry vehicles, and especially if you get MERV actions where you get multiple reentry vehicles. It's pretty cool to see. We also do a lot of other stuff, right? MDA is one of our other primary mission partners here. In fact, MDA is primarily responsible for Mech Island. Most of their infrastructure is up on Mech. And they do a lot of cool testing out here. We're starting to get more and more into hypersonics. You've probably heard of it a lot around the news and stuff. Hypersonics testing out here. Kwaj has the only long-range land impact site across the DoD. So we were able to shoot from CONUS and impact land sites here. And that island is on the western side, one of the defense sites on the western side of the atoll. So we use that a lot. We're getting in more and more test cycles to get after hypersonic testing. And the area that's probably grown the most over the last 20 years, as you would probably expect, creation of the Space Force a handful of years ago, a lot more investments into space activities, is space domain awareness mission set, right? So while the RTS has some really big radars up on Roy, they're only used rarely to support test operations. Right? Those sensors were developed for testing, right? But we'll use them for nonstop, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, is space domain awareness, right? And so they're actively using to support that. Current investments in space domain awareness is happening here as well. You see a lot of growth in the space arena. Anyone heard of Space Fence? Right, Space Fence is here on Kwaj. It's a one-kind asset across the U.S. arsenal. It used to be a string of sensors across the U.S. They pulled that down and they built the new Space Fence here on Kwaj. It's been operational for a handful of years now. If you ever want to know what a $1.4 billion building looks like, it's right down on the south side of town. Right? So one of our other primary mission programs. Next slide. So that's the RTS. Still anyone here working for RTS? RG Next. MIT Lincoln Labs, a bunch of other folks. Okay. How many people here are working? Well, I got CV, so okay. Who's working for Vectors? Well, okay. Okay. And then, of course, ISOS, who works for Vectors. Okay, I got it. And then some military folks. Okay. All right, next slide. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the organization. Again, I'm not going to talk organization charts. They're pretty simple. But like I told you, I have 13 military uniformed service people on my team and 32 Department of the Army civilians. I just finished your BART press. Sorry.
Oh, okay. It's 2 o'clock, so.
It's always 1 o'clock. All right, we'll figure that piece out.
Sorry about that.
And so I'm not going to talk this like I said, but my team is primarily here to provide contract oversight. Right? And so my team here is to make sure that Vectors, the primary base operations support contractor, is executing its contractual obligations as codified in the contract. Okay? As well, our job here as Garrison is to integrate and synchronize all the activities of all the mission partners and all activities to make sure they're nested with the senior commander's priorities. Okay? And so that's what our job and role is. Right? But it's a fairly small team to do a fairly broad set of tasks. So we depend heavily on our partners within the base operations support contractor Vectors. Most of my team's job is to have good relationships with the counterparts in the contract because the contractor runs this installation. The Garrison provides oversight of the contract. Right? And so one of the things I've been trying to routinely communicate to the community here, and there's a great opportunity here with new folks coming in, is most everything is the responsibility of the contractor. Right? And so our job is to make sure they're doing it right. So just keep that in mind as things come up. Right? Often if you're Facebookers, and I'm not one of those people, a lot of people like complaining, what's the Garrison doing about United? Like I have any say of how United cancels flights over your lunch. Right? But for some reason here, that's kind of one of the funny things about it, right? So if you were back in the States and you got your United cancel your flight, are you calling the governor, the mayor, right, your senator? No, you're calling United. But here, A lot of people think the garrisons are responsible for more than they are. Right? We're not. So, next slide. All right, so like I said, we had a lot of mission partners here. Again, like I mentioned, RTS is our largest. About 25% of the population works for RTS, but also have a lot of other mission partners out there too. I already mentioned Space Fence. I mentioned MDA. We got Netcom out here, right? We got GPS out here. We got U.S. Army Corps of Engineers out here, and a host of other mission partners of various levels of support. We got Department of Interior out here, Department of Energy out here, and a bunch of other mission partners that kind of support what we support, their ability to execute their national security objectives. We got 500 MI, counterintelligence units out here, a bunch of other stuff as well. Next slide. So just to get a little bit after, like I mentioned when I kicked this off, is Kwaj is unique, right? So unlike most traditional garrisons, we do things a little bit differently because of our unique situation, but we have a lot more stuff than most traditional garrisons would have, right? I have the second largest Army watercraft fleet in the Army. I have 14 watercraft, which help support operations. When you look at 1,150 square miles of ocean, you can see why it's important, right? I got a fleet of 4 LUHs that help support missions. They're all broken right now, so don't ask to go in a helicopter, right? They help support operations as well. I got 2 Metro commuter aircraft that help ferry people to Roy and back on a daily basis, as well as a host of other stuff that you'd expect to have. I got a fuel barge, I got a large tug, I got the only large tug in the Army. We got a bunch of, I got LCMs and landing craft. I got one of the last LCUs in the Army, the Great Bridge, heavy equipment hauler, and I got a couple of LCMs, landing craft as well to help support some of our smaller islands and installations that we can routinely only get to through helicopters or alternate fallback. As well as our standard commuter watercraft fleet as well. I got 2 catamarans that support MEC and MDA's mission up there. They go 4 times a week up to MEC. And then I got 4 ferries that support Roy commuters, our Marshallese workforce, as well as 3 ferries down here supporting our e-bike workforce as they come on off the island every day. Right, next slide. And I'm not going to talk too much about this. What I like to say is that we try to provide enough services to keep you moderately happy. Right? But if your sponsor says, "Oh, come on here, can't wait to meet you. We'll meet at Starbucks and then run to Target or something," that's not going to happen. Right? The best coffee you will find on island is probably the coffee you make for yourself. Right? The bakery does an okay job, but that's after 2 years of just being used to it. Right? But we do try to provide everything that we can to make life as best we can. Right? So we have most services as you'd expect. Right? There's no fine dining here, unless you consider Burger King, Subway, or Hunt's Brothers Pizza fine dining. In fact, is it the best meal you will probably find anywhere on this in the atoll is up on Roy at the outlet. They do have a small kitchen, which they do great burgers, best burgers and best pizza in the Marshall Islands, the entire Marshall Islands. And so so again, give you a chance. We're trying to emulate how the Outrigger does business here. We actually got a project to expand the Outrigger or the Ocean View here to add a kitchen in as well as do a footprint change. Hopefully we can try to deliver those type of services here as well. In years past, you've probably seen it, there's a condemned building by the Yuck Theater that used to be, it's called the Yuck Club, right? And that got condemned like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And so that used to be fine dining, we provide a lot of opportunities for the community. We're getting after trying to get some of that stuff back. But one of the things you got to realize is this place is expensive to do business, right? So we have anyone familiar with area cost factor? Basically, it's how expensive it is to do business here. We have the highest area cost factor in the Army. We're the 3rd highest in the DoD, only beat out by Thule, Greenland, and Diego Garcia. Right? So it costs about 420% more money for the same thing you can build in Newcomers. Right? An example I like to use in town halls is they built 108 new houses in Monterey, California, which is expensive, for $86 million. I'm doing 20 in FY24 for $96 million. Our houses cost about $500 a week. Right? And so when we look at these infrastructure investments, we really got to prioritize based on the senior commander's priorities on where our money goes, because there's just not enough resources to apply. But we do try to put it where we can. We try to equitably support not only the services that you all depend on, but also quality of life as well. So unlike other garrisons, we're one of the only garrisons in the world that is totally self-sufficient. Right? We generate all our own power. We create our own water. Do our own wastewater treatments, everything, all that stuff you typically get from someone other than internet. We pay people to provide us a trunk line for internet, right? And fuel. So the fuel comes in to run our generators, but that's it, right? We burn a significant amount of diesel fuel on the time. 13 million gallons of diesel fuel last year. It's about $80 million worth of fuel a year goes to fuel, right? And so with the Army climate strategy and changes in the DoD policy, we're looking for new alternative mechanisms to generate power. But it's one of those, something you have to consider working out here in the middle of nowhere, right? Most people can always rely on redundancy and fallback. There's nothing outside of the wire here. Right? It is all done here, which is why everything that everyone in here is critically important. We're dependent on the job that you do and how well you execute. Next slide. All right, with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Command Sergeant Major Miller. He's going to talk to you about dignity, respect, and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm the fun one. All that, hey, first of all, thank you for being here and welcome to Kwaj. It's an amazing place. You'll have an amazing time. We're happy to have you aboard, honestly. So at any time you ever want to have a conversation or talk, please. I like to talk. I get aboard if you don't talk to me. Same with the Colonel. He's so approachable. You can talk to him anytime. You can talk to him before you talk to me if you want. In the back we have Mr. Ram, who is the Deputy Director of RTS. You may talk to him too. So. Hey, it's a great place, friendly people. All I'm saying is get out there and talk to each other, okay? A couple things. So the commander really said everything he had to say just to tell you that this place exists for national security, right? Please don't forget that. We have families here. We have a lot of quality of life here. You're going to get to go out fishing. You're going to get out to scuba dive, and you're going to get to fish, and you're going to get to do all these wonderful things on this island. But that is not why this island exists. So please do not get complacent while you're on this island, okay? That'll bring me to, and I'll start with security. I should probably move it up instead of having a point. Part of that reason is security, right? Don't be where you're not supposed to be. If you see something, say something. PMO will probably talk a little bit about that. We have security forces here. Don't get in the way of them doing their job. They're here to protect you. They're here to protect us. And everything else, okay? So please, we are governed by military rules and regulations on this installation. Follow them. If you don't know what they are, ask, okay? But no pictures on the flight line towards the south side, right? No photographs, so please don't go out there and start taking photographs. If you're caught taking photographs, it's going to get confiscated and you're going to probably have to talk to somebody about it. So just don't do it, okay? Keeping the island clean, it's a small island, and every single one of us, it's our island, right? Everybody in this room, to include the RMI, it's our island, and it's only going to stay as clean and as nice as we make it. So pick up after yourself, right? Clean up cigarette butts. If you smoke 50 feet away from the building, put it out, that kind of stuff, okay? Take care of the island, please, all right? Dignity and respect just makes common sense, right? Treat everybody with respect and you'll get treated with respect as well. It is probably one of the biggest things you'll hear me say, the commander, hear him say, and it's probably one of the few things that you can get kicked off this island real quick for not having, right? Because when you talk about dignity and respect, you talk about SHARP, EO, RMI relationships, XPAC relationships, everything kind of falls in that dignity and respect category, right? Don't do it, and you'll all be just fine, all right? Alcohol, I don't want to talk too much about this because the commander has his little spill in a minute on this, but we have an alcohol problem on the installation, right? People like to drink. There's nothing else to do in some people's minds but to drink, and so they'll drink. And he's got some numbers for you that'll blow your mind. But bottom line, if you're going to drink, drink responsible. Okay. Good thing we don't have vehicles, but we do have golf carts. And matter of fact, we just had somebody give a DUI a little while ago on a golf cart. So they will pull you over, they will give you a DUI, and they will kick you off the island. Don't do it, all right? If you're gonna drink, walk. Please be careful of the ocean. We found people sleeping on the edge of the ocean. So like probably not the best place you want to pass alcohol is sleep, okay? Social media. Social media is an awesome platform to use to get information out to people. It is great to, you know, for families, friends, and everything else, but it also can be, you know, something that can get you in a lot of trouble for posting the wrong things, right? So we've already had people moved off this island because of, you know, some of the things they want to post, you know, using the words such as kill and things like that, right? Don't do it. Don't do it. Just stay off social media for those. Don't buy into them. People are going to complain. Let them complain, right? If you have the answers for them, politely give them the answer, but don't get into the whole social media and start complaining about everything on social media. Okay? But if you want to post something that there's an event going on and you want to let people know, by all means do it. All right. And then also remember national security again, what we're here for in this installation. And don't post anything that shouldn't be posted. RMI relationships. Keep in mind that we are on, we pay for this island, right? But it's not our island, right? It's our Marshallese counterpartners' islands. Everything around here is RMI, right? They allow us to be here, and our relationships with them are important. Treat them with respect. The Colonel will go a little bit more into the RMI relationship, but they are no different than any of us sitting in this room, and they should be treated with the same amount of respect as you would treat anybody else in this room, okay? So please do that. Sharp, E-E-O. I'm telling you, if you want to get into some trouble, that's how you do it, right there, right? Equal opportunity, dignity, respect, you know, no discrimination. Everybody has the right to be who they want to be, I guess, right? And don't judge people for it, and treat them with dignity and respect, and you know, educate yourself. I used to be an EO Sharp program manager, or Sharp program manager and EO Sergeant Major for 1st Corps United States Army in JBLM, Washington. And what I found the most is people are just uneducated when it comes to EO and EEO and don't understand it. So if you don't understand it, it's okay to ask the question, right? But just in the meanwhile, keep all your biases aside and any stereotypes, put them in your bag and just don't let them out, okay? And then quality of life. Small installation, we do our best with it. There is a lot to do, but you have to get out of your room to do it. You have to get out of your house to do it, right? Don't be, I know a lot of people like to, I don't know, depend on your age and maybe some older people like to play video games too, right? So you play video games, right? So, get out, if that's what you're doing, like, don't stay in your rooms, don't stay in, get out there and enjoy the island. It's a beautiful island, right? They got golf, we got golf, any golfers? No? No golfers?
Sorry.
Sir, that's what I'm talking about. I got one golfer. So you got golf out here again, fishing, everything else. I caught a 15-foot, it might get bigger every time I tell the story. I caught a 15-foot oceanic great white. White tip, great white. Looked like a great white. You can't tell me it wasn't a great white. Looked like a great white. Smelled like a great white. It's probably a great white. Shark out there. Thought it was a what are those fish called with the big long nose? Swordfish or marlin. Yeah, I thought it was a marlin. It wasn't. So 45 minutes of my time wasted. But it was fun to get out there and enjoy it, right? So go scuba diving. They say that some of the areas here are your top 3 diving areas in the world. If you like to dive, go do that stuff, right? Remember, I said sharks. But if you want to go dive, you go ahead. Snorkeling is awesome here. And so get out there, get out to Big Edge, get out to Roy, enjoy it. But other than that, that's all I have. I'll turn it back over to Commander. Thank you again for being here, and welcome to Kwaj.
Go next slide. Okay, go back. I'll talk to some of these points. So I'm just going to end with a few things just to give you some context on some of the things that Sergeant said. So first he mentioned that this island has an alcohol problem, and it does. Right? So EP sold about $9 million worth of merchandise last year. 1.5 of that was alcohol. Right? I have less than 1,000 people who are legally allowed to drink. Right? So you do the math, it's about $1,500 per person per year on alcohol sales, right? Some of you are probably doing math going, don't be that person, right? Drink in moderation like CSM, find things to do. There's a culture that's been developed over here over 6 decades that has almost everything we do here has alcohol related, right? So look for things that take you away from that, right? It's still going to be here. You can enjoy it during your time, but look for things that get you out of your rooms, like Sarmaker said, to get you doing things where it doesn't revolve around alcohol, right? About 95% of the issues that we've had here across Sharp, EO, security, all have been tied to alcohol, right? So be very careful. Take care of yourselves. And take care of your friends and your neighbors. But like I said, every person on this installation, being a child, family, spouse, employee, is critical to the mission we do. You wouldn't be here otherwise. Please take care of yourselves. With that, medical stuff. Risks that you would take any other place in the world, don't take here. Right? And so if I'm just thinking, we don't have anything to climb here, right? Free climbing, not something you want to do here, right? In fact, we discourage kids from climbing at all, right? Our medical capacity here is fairly limited, right? So any injuries to children, non-standard or simple breaks, it's a medical evac, right? Any heart issues, any other those type of issues that we can deal with here, it's a medical evac. And a medical evac is about 72 hours away, right? And so since I've been here, we've had 8 deaths, right? Most of those were from complications, older age. We have an older population here, right? And so take care of yourselves, take care of each other. You see something that's not safe, do your best to try to avoid those things that can put you at risk, because we're trying to avoid that. All right, other thing I want to talk about is RMI relations. I mentioned it earlier, CSM mentioned it, I'm going to mention it again. Anyone, I was talking to some of the CVs earlier about this. Anyone ever heard of the old, that 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon thing? You think like you can trace any actor to Kevin Bacon within 7 movies. Here it's 2 degrees to the foreign minister of the country. Right? I can't count how many times I've gotten a phone call from a foreign minister about a single employee action. Right? A single RMI was mistreated, called their cousin, who called their sister, who is the foreign minister of the country. Right? No other garrison in the Army gets phone calls from foreign ministers of countries. Right? And so the reason it gets back up to what CSM said about dignity and respect, right? For a lot of people, a lot of the people we have here, especially the contractors, the company contractors, spent years and years, if not decades, in Kuwait, routinely working with third country nationals. And they developed the kind of attitude toward third country nationals where they're almost not peers or equals. Do not do that here. Right? Simple stuff. How you treat the Marshallese is critically important to the U.S. U.S.'s #1 national security priority here, which is the RMI-U.S. relationship. So be cognizant and careful how you treat them. If you do like Sarmaker said, just treat everyone with dignity and respect, it will not be an issue. But if you start degrading, treating the RMA teammates poorly, that's going to reflect badly on the U.S. government. It's going to reflect badly on you. It's also another way you can get off this island pretty quickly as well. Okay? So we talked about alcohol. We talked about RMI relations. And I think I talked a little about this. The last thing I'll leave with is get out there and do stuff. Right? This is a small community. They will welcome you with wide, broad arms and pull you into stuff. Get out there and do stuff. There's almost too much stuff to do here if you get out and look for it, right? If you're like me, my first couple months after it, I was like, I gotta stop. There's too much stuff going on. I need to step back and just handpick what we're going to support you. Because there's a ton of stuff going on at all times. So get out there, find out where your niche interests are. Wakeboarding, surfboarding, kite surfing, scuba diving, boating, fishing, golfing. Like that stuff. Find it, and then there's all have circles of people that you can become real quick friends with, and they'll accept you. This place is, even though a lot of people stay here a long time, I think the average time people are on this island is about 12 years. It's not the case for military, not the case mostly for the Department of Civilians, but we have people who've been here 4 decades. Someone on my team has been here 42 years. Right? There's a ton of people up on RTS that have been here 30 plus years, if not longer, right? Up on Roy, right? And so get out there, get involved. They'll tell you where all the skeletons are buried. Literally, don't go digging in the ground either here. Okay, this is a battlefield. That's why it's policy. Sorry, CBs, you might have to do that anyways. But anyways, so they'll tell you where all the fun stuff is, how things happen around here. So get out there, get involved, enjoy your time. So some of you are here for 1-year contracts, 6 months for the CBs, right? Some 2, some will be here 12, 20, 30 years, right? But don't let your time go and at the end of it regret not doing something. Okay? There's plenty of stuff to do here. Get out early and do it, and you'll have a much more memorable and fun time. And with that, that's all I got. I appreciate it very much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the mic off to Sergeant First Class Banks in the back. She's going to talk a little bit about SHARP and EEO and kind of set conditions for how importantly we treat sexual harassment and assault program here. She's following up the commander and command sergeant. So please pay attention. While we don't have a lot of issues here, we do have some issues. And it takes everyone working together to make sure that we can stop that down, right? The standard is zero issues ever, right? And so that's what we all have to achieve. So with that, jump back.
Ya fue como tal, parlo yo.
Good afternoon, everybody. Siren Banks, and I'm your SHARP. Can you go to the next slide, please? So you see this is what it stands for: sexual harassment, assault, response, and prevention. I'm part of the Kwaj program. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is what sexual harassment is and what sexual assault is. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. I'll let you bring me on your own. Go to the next slide. So reporting. So if you are sexually assaulted or sexually harassed and you are a contractor, you report to the police, your HR, as well as the police, HR, and a chaplain. Okay? If you're a CB, you report to your SAP or B, doesn't matter, right? And if you are a DA civilian, you will also report it to me, the police, chaplain, and medical facilities, right? So restricted reporting and unrestricted reporting only applies to DA civilians and military personnel. For everybody else, contractors, is going to always be unrestricted reporting. Okay? Go to the next slide, please. So, the colonel and so did the sergeant major, they kind of talked about online misconduct. There are things that have happened going wrong. You are accountable for the things you do and say online. You are accountable for things that you post online, yes? So we're not going to do anything to harm anyone, sexually harass, or assault anyone using online, well, I would say harass, using online services, right? So the way we talk to each other mostly around here is through Facebook, WhatsApp, and things like that, because the cell phones don't work. So please conduct yourself with dignity and respect when using online. Go to the next slide, please. These are the contacts that you need to speak with. I'll be leaving soon, so as far as the SHARP, Chief Elkins is the person that you contact. It's a page number right there. Also give the DOD self-help line. If you are a Marshallese or a Marshallese, you have a Marshallese employee that needs help, you will use emergency services, HR, as well as the ladies. They service those 14 and up, young women 14 and up, and they handle sexual harassment, sexual abuse, as well as domestic violence. Okay, so we will deal with these young ladies right here. We have a Marshallese employee and stuff. The self-help line is always available. For the hospital, EAP is Mr. Kenneth Thomas. He's up there. You can take a picture of this. It's also placed on our website and things like that. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so let me ask y'all a question. If you have one drink, can you have, is it good to have sexual contact with anybody else after having one drink? No. It's not. You're impaired, yes? You don't know what everybody else's tolerance is, right? good decisions and do the right thing. All right? That's all.
Good afternoon. I'm here. My name is Rick Cruson. I'm representing the Host Nations office. Major Jay Parsons is the director of Host Nations. And we've got 4 people in our office. We've got Mike Brantley, the protocol officer. We've got Mike Sakayo, the Host Nations specialist. And as I mentioned, Jay Parsons and myself. Next slide. So there's a very tight relationship between obviously the garrison and the RMI. And the Host Nations office is here to really be the liaison and to talk with the RMI liaison office and to really manage that relationship on a daily basis. So we're talking to them constantly, exchanging dozens of emails per day. And it's really an interesting culture. You can see one of the ceremonies that they're doing here, probably over on Ebi or up on Third Island. And as Colonel Pugsley mentioned, if you have an opportunity to attend a big birthday celebration or another ceremony of that type, either on Third Island or Ebi, I would really recommend that you do that, especially around Christmas time. Everyone goes over to Ebi on Christmas because they have a lot of celebrations that are connected with the churches there. So that's something to look forward to around Christmas time. Next slide, please. So this picture is a pretty famous picture. This picture is Mike Sakayo, and he's obviously carving a pig that has been roasted over here in front of the Marshallese Cultural Center, which is right next to the airport terminal. And they have these ovens that are down inside the ground. And so on Manat Day, once a year, they put like 3 or 4 pigs in these old style, in the ground ovens, and then they bake it, and then they have all these Marshallese people who come with these traditional dishes. And it's a real big celebration. They have lots of handicrafts going on, so a lot of people come and they buy baskets and they buy there are artisans there that are custom making things, right according to your directions. So it's very interesting. But Manat means culture or cultural, and so the Marshallese have a very strong culture, and it's a very vibrant culture that you can see if you happen to go to Madro or, as I mentioned, to Ebi. But I would really recommend that you attend Manat Day if you have a chance. Next slide, please. So past and present. So the Marshall Islands, they were first inhabited several thousand years ago, but just over the last 150 years, there's been a changing of hands. It's gone from Spain to Germany to Japan, and then right after the Second World War, it was transferred to us. Or we took the Marshall Islands. There were several very fierce battles with the Japanese during World War II. And you can see evidence of that if you ride around the perimeter of Kwaj, there are historical markers. Also on Royne Moor, you can take a battlefield tour where you can see exactly what happened on such and such a date. Who assaulted the beach at that point and what happened. So it's very interesting for people who are history buffs or who are military buffs. As I mentioned, Germany was part of the Marshall Islands. Germany had a very strong influence on it, and you can see a lot of German names mixed in with more traditional Marshallese names. So there are a lot of descendants of some of the German settlers that you can still see that lineage here. The nuclear legacy is it's very tragic, but you can still see vestiges of the nuclear legacy because some of the islands out here were used for extensive nuclear testing. And there were islands that were totally evacuated after the nuclear testing or in preparation for the nuclear testing. And when that happened, unfortunately, there was some nuclear fallout that has ongoing health repercussions for some Marshallese people right now. And there are programs that the U.S. is responsible for where we are still monitoring and helping to take care of some of the Marshallese people that were affected by the radiation and the nuclear testing. Population, there's not a lot of people out here. Up on, the big population centers are up on Madro, which is the capital, which is about a 1-hour flight from here. And then you've also got Ebi. And then you've got some people spread out on some of the smaller islands. And then you have a large number of people that have immigrated to the United States, because the Marshallese are allowed visa-free entry into the United States. And there are big communities on the West Coast, in Washington State, and in Oregon, and also especially in Arkansas. Unfortunately, a lot of Marshall Islands residents, a lot of Marshall Islands citizens do go to the United States, or would like to go to the United States at some point in time. As far as religion, very strong religious nature, culture out here. And I mentioned the going over to Ebi and seeing some of the dances and seeing some of the celebrations that they put on around Christmas time. But it's a very religious community out here, and for the most part, it's predominantly Protestant. But there are Assembly of God, and there are Catholics, and there are Latter-day Saints that are represented out here as well. And for ethnic groups, you can see vast majority is Marshallese and some mixed Marshallese. Next slide, please. So geography, you can see all the islands, the 29 different atolls, 5 islands. You've got basically a west side and an east side. So which is the Ratak and the Ralik chains of islands. And you've got different Irojas or different chiefs that are responsible or that are that have prominence on those different in those different chains. And there is no public land within the Marshall Islands. It's all owned by private landowners. So, for example, the United States government leases all of our lease agreements with the Marshall Islands. When we enter into those lease agreements, the United States government is entering those agreements with individuals, and so gets a little bit complicated, and I won't pretend to be an expert at it, but you can see a representation of how the islands and the atolls look. Next slide, please. So the USACA Partnership and Outreach. These pictures just show some of the things that we do with the Marshallese. So here you have, so this is the Prince Eugen, which is a wreck that went down shortly after World War II, and it was leaking oil. And the Marshallese were not very happy about the fact that it was leaking tens of thousands of gallons of fuel out into the water. So about 2 years ago, the United States government entered into a project where we went down and we recovered all of that oil. So there's no longer that pollution. That pollution is no longer ongoing in that area. This is a kind of a famous program that we have out here. MIT Lincoln Labs is a very big partner out here on Kwajalein. And every summer they have a program called Beaver Works, where they invite Marshallese youth to come over, and they have workshops, and which are primarily IT focused. And so it's teaching these Marshallese youth some usable skills, and really giving them confidence and giving them something that they can look forward to or build on in the future and put on their resumes. As much as possible, we like to encourage this partnership and this interaction between the U.S. organizations and the Marshallese. And then just some additional pictures of one of the handicraft days where at one of the auditoriums or the gym down here on Kwaj, we invite local vendors to come in from Madro and from Ebi, and they sell lots of food. They sell a lot of tuna, but they also sell handicrafts. This picture was taken over at the garrison, just showing the commander and the sergeant major and some of the local, some of the RMI officials that are here having meetings with the USACA leadership. And then this is one of the, this is just a traditional dance. I think this picture was taken up on Third Island, which is an island just a couple of miles from Roy Namur, which we have many flights that go there every day. And then, of course, a picture of some CBs in action. A lot of the CB projects have actually been with the well, I don't want to say outer islands, but with the smaller islands, putting in water recovery projects that help the local communities. Because on some of these smaller islands, you might only have 50 or 100 residents, and it's very hard for them to have potable water. So when the CBs come in and spend a month out there installing these water systems, I mean, that's life-changing for those communities. So the CBs have a very good reputation with the Marshall Islands residents. Next slide. And so for the government, it's a self-governing democracy, and it's been that way since independence in 1986. You've got a kind of a mixed system, mixed parliamentary presidential system. It's got a bicameral legislature. I'll go ahead and let you read that slide yourself. But they have senators, and just like we have senators, they have a president, just like in the United States, and the senior USACA leadership attends a lot of the important government meetings in Madro. So there's a very close relationship between the garrison commander and the president of the Marshall Islands. And Colonel Pugsley was joking about the fact that he would get all these calls from the foreign minister of the RMI, but the senior leadership of the RMI, they visit Kwaj on a frequent basis. So we know them very well, and they come down. They'll be here later on this month for the change of command on the 28th of June. Next slide. And just go ahead. So for cultural characteristics, this would really be a lot better. Mike Sakayo was briefing it, because Mike Sakayo, the host nation specialist, he's from this area of the world, and he speaks fluent Marshallese. I'll go ahead and let you read this, but there are three social classes that people are divided into. The Roj are the chiefs, and it's kind of interesting out here. Land and passes through on the mother's side. It's matrilineal in nature for land rights. There's a very strong focus on family. So, for example, if a child is having a first birthday, or if there is a death in the family, it's not unusual for Marshallese employees to want to get a day's leave in order to attend those kinds of ceremonies, because they do place a very strong focus on the family. This is kind of unique to the Marshall Islands. You won't hear a lot of the Marshallese don't like to outwardly complain, or they won't voice their complaints very strongly. So you just have to keep in mind that there are cultural differences between the United States and how we would normally approach a situation, and what we would say if we're confronted with something, or if we're in a certain situation, versus how the Marshallese will respond. So you have to be sensitive to that there are some cultural differences between the Marshallese and the U.S. As Colonel Pugsley mentioned, it's not, a lot of people in the DoD or DoD contractors, spent 5 or 10 years working in Baghdad, Iraq, or working in Kabul. They're thinking they're thinking of third country nationals, or they're thinking of the way Afghan workers or Iraqi workers, approach something. Well, it's not, the culture is not the same. Next slide. And so this is just, the Marshallese love to dance, and this is taken over at the gym, and this is a little bit of what you would see if you went to the Christmas Day ceremonies up on Ebi. But they really enjoy themselves, and it's really a joyful culture. Do I have any questions? All right, thank you very much, and hope to see you at Manna Day or at one of the Marshallese cultural events.
Good afternoon, everybody. I know it's kind of hard to stay awake after chow, especially it's kind of hot in here, so I appreciate your time. My name is Detective Soto, and I'm with DES, Director of Emergency Services, which encompasses fire, EMS, security, obviously in the police station, and physical security. And it's all, Lieutenant Colonel Lynch is the one that oversees that whole thing. I provided you guys with some pamphlets with some good numbers. Recently there was some issues with 911. Those things are still being fixed. Some call boxes in some homes, it doesn't go directly to 911. We don't have a traditional dispatching office like we do have in the States. 911 goes straight to the fire station. They in turn dispatch security, security dispatches police. We're working on it, it's getting there, it's gotten better, but we're working on it, okay? There are also multiple call boxes around the island. You can go and grab it, hit 911 and it will work, or call the emergency desk number. It's 24 hours a day, and they'll notify PMO, okay? Also, with Sergeant Banks about sexual assaults and sexual harassment, if you cannot get them, call us, because if you are doing a sexual assault where you cannot secure your information, you'll be talking to me anyways, so you can call us and we'll take care of that, getting you to the right people, okay? Alright, so this is just the differences between security and law enforcement, okay? Obviously the biggest one will be the vehicles. One says security, the other one says military police, because we are Department of the Army civilian police officers, federally accredited, so that's why it says military police on it, okay? However, if you don't see us around or you need us, and you see these guys, you can stop them here, we need PMO, and then we'll come help you out. You're going to hear the terms PMO, which is Post Marshal's Office, or KPD, which is Kwaj Police Station. Same thing, okay? PMO is usually for military folk. PMO. Okay, so security can assist you with lockouts after working hours. So if you get locked out of your barracks room or something, or your house, during working hours, you gotta go to the hospital. And then they'll give you a key and you do that whole thing. If it's after hours, security will help you. They also do escorts, bank escorts, lost K badges or C badges or CAT cards. You have to get a police report first, then they'll be able to do a 55R, and then they'll be able to give you a CAT card or C badge, whatever you may need, okay? The office is located in the same building as security, which is 807. 807 is literally across from the MWR office, where the golf carts are. That office across. The building directly behind security is PMO. So you gotta go to them first and then they'll call us, because we're in the back. All right, sponsorship programs is something that you're gonna come very familiar with if you're not familiar with so far. So 480s, community exchange, unofficial day passes, domestic contracts, all these things go to the Post Marshal's office. The pamphlet that I gave you guys is very important because you're going to submit all your requests to here if you're doing like unofficial day pass or something. However, for everything else, get with your HR. I know some people here don't have an HR. You can go directly to PMO. For you guys, it'll be all Alvarez. She'll take care of all that kind of stuff, okay? But that's very important because it goes through the main box and we can all get it. We can all see it, okay? Bicycle registrations are no longer being done by the police, they're being done by security. So if you want to register your bikes, it's very common here to go to the airport, go to Roy, leave your bike unsecured, come back, your bike's not there. You're probably going to end up finding it at the DSC or in the barracks parking lot or somewhere. So we recommend that you buy a lock. They do sell locks here at the bike shop and or online, however you want to do it, but lock your stuff. Lock your stuff up, okay? School resource officer, we do have one. He is currently in the States, however, if anything happens with that, I'll take care of it until he comes back from the States. Alright, so Visaga Policy 2010-21 is the control of alcoholic beverages and intoxicants. If you're a K-Badger, you are not allowed to buy alcohol for C-Badgers. You are allowed to host a party, and you do have to stay in that party the entire time because you are the host. Okay? You are responsible for wherever you're having that party for. So you cannot buy them keg and go about your merry way, because then they're going to get in trouble and you as a sponsor are also going to get in trouble. Okay? Since we're federal, it's a federal installation. It's all 18 USC, and for you folks, it's all UCMJ. Right? We also go by Hawaii Penal Code. So you're going to get federal charges and you're going to get Hawaii charges. Yes, we do them all the time, as the Colonel said. We recently had another DUI, so it's going to happen, okay? So it's up to you guys as to what decisions you make, okay? Traffic control, just brand new, about 6 months, 7 months ago. 56-4 tells you what you can do with your vehicles, what you need to do to get a license. You are required to have a SACA license to drive here, your 30-day grace period with your stateside license, so on and so forth. You're going to get it from 56-4. We do enforce 56-4, okay? And we took good violations. So there's a certain amount of money that C-Badgers are allowed to take home every day. They have to go through a DSC, and they're going to get searched. If it goes over about the $20 monies, then guess what? They're going to get a retail good violation. We try not to do that. We try to keep our relationships really good, but a lot of alcohol with this. People try to smuggle alcohol through the DSC and stuff like that. However, if you give somebody, you take to the office, I don't know, a dish of brownies, that's good. They can take the whole thing. It's a cooked item. But they can't go, unfortunately, to Surfway and buy like $300 of stuff and take it. Can't do it. Okay? There's a bunch of exceptions and things that they have to do. Okay? We have possession of alcohol. The DSC is the checkpoint, and it's going to happen every time as you leave and as you come back. For us as well, for expats. Don't drink on duty. If you're working, you shouldn't be drinking. Put it on wire, I guess. Disorderly conduct and disorderly or drunken disorderly. Even if you're at the bar, you act up, you're going to get a drunken disorderly. Even though I know it's a place where you're going to consume alcohol, but it's because of your actions, right? So it is what it is, I'm sorry to say. Golf carts are an issue in the sense of there are some people who have the golf carts as private vehicle, I guess for more like contractors, like man or something like that. However, you still can't drive it for personal use. You can't go to Surfway and buy a whole bunch of stuff and go to barbecue and da-da-da-da-da. Any exceptions to that, there are exceptions, have to run through Sergeant Major and the Colonel. As long as they say, good to go, you're good to go. Okay? Couple more things. Security and law enforcement is a big thing here. We are law enforcement. We are the police. In the security, we do have different functions, even though we work for the same guy. But we do have different functions. Okay? And again, we are federal, so it's going to be a federal issue. Right? We don't kick you off either. We simply report the facts to the Colonel. Okay? Proper reporting. Facebook, Twitter, and all those other cool things, that is not proper reporting for the Provost Marshal. You have to go to the Provost Marshal, put pen to paper, make a report, and we'll follow up with it. But you can't just, okay? If it doesn't get reported to us, we can't do anything about it. Secure your doors. Everybody says this is Kwaj, it's a beautiful place to live. I've been here for 2 years, I have kids here, they love it. However, lock your doors, right? Just like you do in the States. When you're in your home. If you don't want to keep a key on you, get one of those, I don't know, exterior padlock thingy and keep a key in there. But please secure your homes, because at the end of the day, you're still responsible for it. We'll still take the report, we'll still do the larceny, but you gotta be responsible for doing stuff. That's all I got. Anybody has any questions?
You said something about personal use, so because, to be clear, you're out and about doing work on a car, you stop it, take a drink, go to the empties, or go to your lunch.
That's fine. Well, if you're out and about and like at a site and you're like, hey, I'm really thirsty, I'm gonna start my empties, it's within your line of travel. So that's okay. It's not, it doesn't go out of your way. However, per regulation, if you're gonna go, if that's your lunchtime and you're not an on-call person, i.e. some people with RGNX or us, the fire station, we're 24 hours on call, then you have to park that car or and either ride your bike or walk or correct. And then go back at it. But there's a big problem with that. So the vehicles are not allowed to be in your home unless you're like a one on call. DPW as well, you're on call 24 hours. So they're not allowed to be parked in your home for like overnight because you want to hang out and ride your bike somewhere. It's hot, I got it. But any questions on that? Again, with ETPs for any of that, Sergeant Major Colonel.
Lock your doors, any burglaries here lately?
So there's been days where people have gone into go check your door and your door's not locked. And you go in. That's why DPW, every time you make a work order, they'll ask you, do you give us authorization to go into your home? Yes or no is up to you. But again, lock your doors. Lock your doors because people will. We're humans, right? We're gonna do things, right? So you gotta lock your doors and make sure your stuff is protected.
You give permission to enter without you being there or not?
Sorry?
You recommend you give permission to enter without you being there or not?
That's a personal choice. I haven't had any problems with the actual employees going in and doing their duty because they have to report it. Everything is reported to their higher up as to where they're going to be, where they're going to answer, hey, Mr. So-and-so gave us permission, and they'll ask you on the phone when you do or if you do give them permission. So it's like if you leave Island on TDY, there's a form that you sign with housing saying that you give John Smith permission to act as your caretaker for your home. Same scenario. Any other questions? Thank you guys. Welcome to Kwaj.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mike Brantley. I'm the Public Affairs Officer, but for this portion, I'm your OPSEC lead until we get a new one hired. Next slide, please. Next slide. Everybody knows what OPSEC is, right? If you don't, raise your hand, it's fine. Okay. It's the process of making sure all of our assets, our personnel, and our mission here is safeguarded against our adversaries, whoever they might be. The most important thing on this slide, I feel, is the information in pink. What you can and cannot take photos of. You take a picture of one of these items and you post it on Facebook. Somebody will rat you out. It happens all the time. Right, Roy? Yes. My wife's been reported. A lot of people have been reported. So what you can and can't take pictures of. Take pictures of the sunsets. Don't take pictures of the airfield, buildings at the airfield, the runway, planes landing and taking off. Out front, people leaving like they left this morning and a couple days ago, that's fine. Anything that shows the tarmac or the runway is a negative. You go up to Roy, you will see these awesome things called Altair, Alcor, Tradex, really cool radars that spin and turn. Please do not take those and post them on social media. Or I'll get a call from that right there. People have done that in the past. Here on Kwaj, if it's
Do we have one like that?
sure.
If for some reason an organization does need pictures like that, Mike does have some public release pictures of systems.
And this phone number should be 480-4848. As a public affairs officer, I'm the guy that provides memos to the CBs if you need to go out and take pictures in the area where photos aren't normally allowed. Or Parsons, when they were working on the runway, they had to go out and take photos to send back to their higher headquarters. I provide that memorandum. Everybody on the team will keep a copy of it in their pocket. And when the cops show up, when the cops show up and they want to know what you're doing out here, whip that out and say, I'm approved by the Public Affairs Officer. Also here, if it's a building that is behind a fence. Probably a good idea, don't take a photo of it. The really cool, which would you call them? The balls, the big white, what she said. Yeah, on top of the buildings that you see everywhere, don't take pictures of them. There's a boat here called the Worthy, really cool boat, don't take a picture of it. If you do, don't post it on Facebook, social media, anything else like that. They have the white balls on top of them as well. Leave work at work. Shouldn't be too hard here. There is a lot to do when you're not at work, so be aware of what your organization considers critical information. Any questions? Now let's get on to my real brief, public affairs. The fun stuff. Next slide. So I have a copy of this slide. Again, the phone number in red is 480-4848. That changed a couple of months ago. I have a copy of this slide back there by the coffee pot. So, how many people, besides the father, I think you, how many people have been here before? Raise your hand. All right. For those of you who haven't, welcome to Kwaj. I take care of all the public affairs stuff, so all the cool stuff, communication aspects, AFM, TV, AFM radio, all that information is there on the left. I do the roller channel, which takes PowerPoint slides and information of things going on that you should know about in the community. It's got music from the radio station, and it's playing on the channels listed right there. It's just a continuous rotation. If you go to the hospital, or if you go to offices, they'll usually have that on, sometimes with music, sometimes not. But it's great information like the upcoming 4th of July celebration, the schedule, Dad's movie night, the dive-in movie night coming up the 18th. Movie just changed. Check it out on Facebook. How many people are not on Facebook? Raise your hand. Well, 3. In my 4.5 years here, usually it's the opposite. Only 2 or 3 people are. So good on you. I hate Facebook. To me, it's the F word. I used to love Facebook until I became in charge of USACA's Facebook page. There's a few people on the island who only did that. But the Facebook page is up there. If you're not already following, give us a follow. I take care of that. I'm the main person for about the next 9 months, and I'm out of here. But that's a great place to see the Hourglass, which is our weekly newspaper. It's in the middle section there. It comes out every Saturday. If you want to be added to that distribution list, email me. Email's down at the bottom. It used to be at the bottom. Give me a call, 4848. I can add you onto that. So you can see, you can access on Facebook, the weekly newspaper comes out every Saturday afternoon around 1 o'clock. You can see the Kwaj Current, bi-weekly, that means every other week, news video that usually accompanies the Hourglass. So you'll see the video products for the stories that are appearing in print. And that's also on Facebook, as well as all the slides that are fed to the roller channel. It's all the good-to-know information that's coming up. If you're at an event and you want a copy of the photos, if you go to the bottom middle there, the Kwaj Flickr page, Jessica Damber, she's the editor for the Kwajalein Hourglass. She's been here for about 8 years. She was a former Kwaj kid here. She uploads all the photos from the various events, and you can go on there and check them out. You can download them yourself. You don't have to email anybody to request them. Probably one of the most important things on there is the red number, 480-1098. That is the commander's hotline. So I'm the person that takes people's complaints and concerns and questions, and very rarely kudos for something that's going right on the island. I share that with Sergeant Miller, who you just saw, as well as Colonel Pugsley, soon to be Colonel Morgan in a couple of weeks. And I'm their eyes and ears with the community, so people can either call that phone number. On Facebook, you can click the blue message button. The message comes directly to me in Facebook, and no one else gets it but me. And I share that with the subject matter experts. If you have an issue with housing, I'll reach out to Calvin Alexander, who is our housing corps. If it's with medical, I'll reach out to Galen Rasmussen, who's the corps for medical. So I'll reach out to the subject matter expert, as well as the command sergeant, so he is aware of everything. In case the colonel gets a call, hey, did you know about a problem at the hospital or the dental clinic? You can say, yes, I did. So I'll make your brief. Any questions? place is great. 4.5 years is flown, especially the 2.5 with COVID. Enjoy your time here. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Major Strauss. I'm the director for TMS, essentially operations in Garrison. I have a lot of people out right now, so I'm covering down for them. We have kind of a spread of responsibilities. This is one of them. So, force protection. Next slide. All right, we'll go right into emergency management. So, our emergency manager here, he's just getting back on island. His name is Josh Snow. What a lot of you guys have probably seen in your quarters, these old phone directories. Front part, there's sirens, stuff about UXOs, evacuation plans, all that kind of stuff. So he's in the process, along with Vectress, of updating all that information. Obviously, they flipped the phone system over, so there's names of people, parents, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the numbers remain the same, associated with houses and stuff like that. But that emergency management piece on the front is in the process of being updated. There are exercise plans that are going to involve the installation built. The public facing, so if you have Nipper access, you can go to our SharePoint site and you can see all of the emergency management products that we have. But not everybody has Nipper access, so there's a public facing site that takes you to the DM homepage where all of the digital versions of all these products are available. The next slide. So this is what it looks like. Right now, one of the sort of plans that he's putting together is advising the community on what our threats are, what our concerns are for emergencies. So for us, historically, it's El Nino seasons that drive either high winds that cause wind damage, or those winds cause storm surges from the lagoon, or excessive rainfall that causes flood. And along with that, potential for power outages and things like that. So with that, there's evacuation plans. There's a whole build-a-kit write-up that he has on here that's all derived out of FEMA's build-a-kit campaign. So you may, if you've been into the exchange recently, you'll see a table that's set up. It has stuff that you can order through AVs to build an emergency kit. So it's emergency food supplies, dry bags, so like rubberized bags. Most folks already have them because they take them out of books. Recommendations for like pounds of water and stuff you should have here. And also with those information updates, we're doing the evacuation plans. So again, in the old phone directory, you'll see if you're in a single-story house, there's going to be a table that directs you in the event of a flood threat. So you can evacuate to a designated two-story house. And that person is like a shelter warden. So what the exercise is going to kind of do, that's kind of take us through a week-long build-up in anticipation of a big storm event. And the idea being you're not meeting that person for the first time, and your dogs aren't meeting for the first time because you're dragging all of your emergency supplies up to their house. So a lot of that information's here, and like I said, we're in the process of kind of building that plan, figuring out the best way to lay out that exercise slide we might have talked about this. Okay, yeah, so this is just an example of what happened. 91, tropical storm Zelda, felled trees, high winds, blowing stuff around, causing lots of damage. So it does happen here. Because of our location, we generally don't get hit with the typhoons directly. They kind of spin off. But there is a precedent for these types of things. Slide. Okay, so then, yeah, this is just, again, all this information is on the site. Feel free to reference it. Fraudulent threats, all this stuff's kind of talked about information sources. PAO covered that. So all the stuff goes out on either over the roller online, the roller that's broadcast, KTV that's broadcast, Facebook page. And then as we get these systems back up, the siren system is down, a bunch of them are damaged. The environment here is eating them alive in the process of getting all this stuff back up. Those will be going as well. And then for the community, DoD uses what's called the alert mass notification system. So it's a way we all register. It's really easy for us with a CAT card to, at your desktop, via email, via text message, whenever there is a emergency notification goes out. Most of the other installations you guys have been at get spammed with there's a severe thunderstorm warning, things like that. We push that out. Now the complication with that here, a lot of folks don't have CAT cards. There is a way to register your personal email account. Instructions are all on that front-facing webpage, so that folks that don't have network computers can still get those kind of alerts. And the intent is to integrate everybody that would kind of touch emergency management to be able to give them that access to push. So recently, the weather team, we're giving those, the intent is to give those guys the ability to push alerts through the system to notify folks when there's severe weather that, for example, would cause a small watercraft. None of the boats are going to be able to go out, or they're going to recommend that people don't go out. Next slide. Okay, this is just a snapshot of all the evacuation locations, kind of what it looks like, everybody's house numbers, where you're headed. Slide. Okay, same thing for Roy. Slide. This is just a walkthrough of the basic kit. And then the other kind of key piece to think about this is when you have to move it. Right? Most people, you see them pulling bike trailers. And that's okay if it's just you, but it's different. Not wagon dogs. Something like that. So, think of some way or some means that you're going to, if you do have to evacuate, how you're going to kind of do all this stuff. That's the slide. Yep, just some additional considerations. So yeah, pets, means to start fire, matches, flint, cash. ATMs are often in there, so that is a consideration. And then batteries and all the kind of stuff that you can. Slide. Okay, yeah, so kind of the gist of all this is within your families and then within your organizations, know and understand what you need to do for your people or family members during an emergency. Most organizations are going to have emergency response plans. A power goes out and something happens. Are we exiting the building? How are we getting accountability for everybody? And then most of the organizations also have some type of what's called plan, continuity of operations plan. So, A, if we lose power capabilities in our building, how do we continue doing what we need to do maybe in an alternate location? So you guys are unique, but yeah, we get integrated into your organizations and they have all that kind of stuff that they're either working or they already have this stuff. All right, next slide. All right, 500.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Per your knowledge, has there ever been incidents of personal property loss during like a storm or hurricane? And if so, what would be solutions? Is there something like protecting, especially if you live in housing, protecting property?
So
So that's a good question. The most recent one that comes to mind is when the coconuts were getting out of hand. Whether it was wind or not, like one smashed somebody's table. Now, aside from like renter's insurance, yeah, that's a good question. Is what is the liability? Like who owns the liability for property? Right? So I have to pay a lot of money for my homeowner's insurance. The house I have in Florida, and it's even more because there's hurricane relief and stuff like that. Is USAA going to provide us typhoon coverage specific? Yeah, that's a good question. Our lawyer just let me know. I'll send it to his replacement and ask him, because yeah, that is a big concern with, yeah, when a tree falls over, smashes somebody's house, and they lose all their personal possessions. Will my USAA owners policy cover me? Or do people look to vectors, or they look to the garrison? Yes, sir.
Speaking about trees, sir, there's a lot of coconut trees all over the area. And I see some gentlemen going around cutting the coconuts so they won't fall. Have you ever had anybody get hit on the head?
I haven't heard of a coconut lottery winner here. That's a big issue. It's brought up at town halls a lot. I know right now the discussion is there's a big conflict between the number of trees, cutting the trees down, the environmental impacts of that, manpower for the teams, how do they prioritize it? Everybody's tracking that it's an issue, and they're trying to figure out a way to get after it. When the situation sort of came to a head, right at the last minute, the bucket truck arrived, and the teams were able to kind of get all of the biggest potential risks kind of taken care of. This was like 2 months ago. Everybody was like, I can't go outside because of coconuts.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because, they're mostly cut down, but once in a while, they're going out to the chapel and all of a sudden, a couple of coconuts go in, say, we're worried about it standing in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
A few years ago, there was someone, and our coconuts are bigger, they're heavier, and they're in a taller tree. So you see signs, pay attention to falling coconuts, because someone was hit and had a concussion. Okay, now obviously the likelihood of proportionality isn't there, but please do pay attention. These trees not only are dropping coconuts, but dropping fronds all the time. There are actually a couple of teams that go around, but yes, pay attention.
So I would just advise, I had the same issue. I've got about 30 surrounding my neighbor's house. And when they got bad, I called in a work order, and I got the response I got was, yep, you're in the queue, you're getting to it, and if you don't get that kind of response, then that's when you go through your organization and say, hey, I'm really, this one is, I gotta look at this thing, every day as I'm walking out of the house. Just bring it up through your organization, and like I said, use ARMA to get it on everybody's radar. There's a time of the year where you start to see them coming in and getting bigger and bigger. Try to avoid it. Set up your beach chair. No other questions?
How's everybody? I'm Pedro Alba. I'm with the Army Counterintelligence with the 500 MI, and we are located in building 1163, the Kwaj Innovation Office. I'm one of 5 special agents. We have 4 green suiters and 1 civilian. The civilian, he's the special agent in charge, Jason Kennington. The operations officer is Michael Mitchell. You got myself, Buddy Jonathan Garcia. He's actually off island. He'll be back next month. And Jose Velasco, he just got here. Getting a brief too. So I'll be talking to you a little bit about us and what we do here. Next slide. So what we're looking for is anybody conducting any kind of counter-espionage, who's working for another country trying to get information, anything that can sabotage national security, your jobs itself. We actually will have a TARP briefing July 20th and 26th. You should hear about it from your HR or your supervisors. There'll be a roster for that, so you'll get credit for that. I'll give you this is just a summary. The TARP brief will probably take about 45 minutes. I'll have more in-depth information. Next slide. Yeah, well, so yeah, insider threat, one of the main things we look for. That could be anybody in this room, anybody you know, anybody you work with. So somebody that you know, all of a sudden starts acting a little different. They come in earlier, they leave late. This is one of the signs that you look for. If they don't have a need to know, they're asking questions that they shouldn't be asking. Those are things that are reportable. You see somebody taking security markings off, it's also reportable. Trying to get access to places they should be having access to, or you know they're actually giving information to somebody else. If you see any of one of us throughout the island, you can pull us to the side, or at the end of the slide you see the contact number and email. You can send us information, say, hey, we gotta talk to you, we got something to report. Don't be afraid to pull us to the side when you see us around. You probably find me in the adult recreation center. I play pool every Sunday usually. And then every second Saturday of the month, they got salsa night at the Ocean View. I like that salsa. Next slide. Elicitation usually pertains to two people. Person trying to reach out to somebody else outside of what we have here. Everybody here is pretty much a family. You want to keep the job available here, the mission that they got going on here. You don't want to jeopardize that. So if you see the whole thing, sorry, major mention, even the current policy, you see something, say something, it's a big deal. You might think it's not a big deal, but you heard some little situation going on somewhere, somebody was trying to get access, was watching somebody go into a building, looking at how to get into that building. Those are a little suspicious, right? So if you have a little red flag going up in your head, just bring it up to us, you never know, it might be something reportable. Online, they already mentioned that. I've said there's places where you shouldn't be taking pictures. You are okay to ask somebody, hey, can I see if you have your access badge? If they don't have an access badge, the K badge, maybe they have a C badge. If they don't have anything, how did they get here? Well, eBay's like right around the corner. Who knows how they got there? They're trying to get in here. You can always ask, can I see your badge? Or if you see somebody new, and you have people that are contractors that are wearing those vests, anybody can put that on and make believe they work in the airfield, right? You see them going around with a phone. Shouldn't have the phones out, right? You see that? That's reportable. Somebody can be taking pictures, post them online, or even send them to somebody, so you never know. That's the reason why they want to go over through your phone to see if you took some pictures that you shouldn't be taking, right? And we work pretty much with local law enforcement, OSI, NCIS, FBI. So we shoot up everything to the counterintelligence community, the intel community. So if you see any of that stuff, it comes from us, we report it up, and it goes up. We don't have control over what happens to you, obviously, but if it comes to an investigation, the person you're reporting won't know about it. We do offer confidentiality, so don't be afraid to report somebody that you know, or your boss. Now, if you have an issue with your boss, don't try to fabricate any information to try to get them in trouble, because we find out that's fabrication. It is punishable in the UCMJ for military personnel and under the DoD for civilians. Next slide. Okay, next slide. I mentioned TARP, the 20th and the 26th of July for the next ones. The 20th will be here, and if you're located in Roy, no more, that's on the 27th of July. Again, you will see a message pertaining to that. It'll cover you for the whole year, and this will show you pretty much how to figure out what the indicators are, how to report it, who to report it to, and the channels to report it. Next slide. So I've been meaning to get this updated. Mark Batiste is gone in his place. Special in charge is Jason Benton, Michael Mitchell, he's still here, operations officer, Jordan Darche, myself, Jose Velasquez. You have your phone, take out your phone, take a picture. Again, we're in building 1163. If you pass the 1008 and 1010, you pass us, we're 1163, 1008, and 1010. We're the building with the bars outside, so you call us out, you set up a meeting, come in there. If there's something that is classified, you can talk about it inside the building. We can't talk about the secret. It's about that. We're working on getting top secret access. I think we'll be the only building to do. Other than that, you can also go on their website. And then the number is 480, and then any one of those last 4 digits. If you have any questions, I'll be here for the next few minutes.
You guys still do touch and freeze?
So if you're traveling to outside of the U.S., you will come to us at least 2 weeks ahead, and we'll give you a country brief. We'll give you the local thread pertaining to the country, what has happened in the last few months, what to watch out for, and what you should, what is reportable. So when you come back, you get a debrief. And we also keep records of that. So you come in, put your information down, show up, you get your briefing. It's pretty much simple. It's what to look out for when you're over there. If something does happen, where the embassy is located, phone numbers, and as well, there's like a website where you can go in there and register. I can't remember the name of it, but I will give it to you if you go on a travel brief, warrant something. You go in there and you register. You being in the U.S., being outside of the U.S., something happens, you will get a message either through your phone or your email, whatever you set up on there. So if something goes down, it will tell you, hey, you need to evacuate, something's going down. Any other questions? All right.
Alright, there's gonna be a bus outside. There's gonna be a hold on, we go chippy. Gonna be our tour guide.
Around. Bus is out here. You can take the first big old bathroom break and you grab the bus.
Well, I'm not Steve Cass. I'm Ken Thomas. I'm the EAP from the hospital, and I'm actually standing well. Kind of this is now my new gig, but we have to change that. But anyhow, I'm here to tell you about the medical services here on Kwaj. First and foremost, welcome to the island, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your stay here so far. Who's been here for at least a month? Less than a month? Okay, all right. Okay, great. So on Kwaj, we do have a full service medical, dental, and EAP services here. And as we go through the slides, I'll tell you a little bit about each one of those particular services that are provided and that you can get at the hospital. So Kwaj, these are the hours of operation, Tuesday through Saturday, 7:30 to 4:30 in the afternoons. We are not a 24-hour hospital. However, if there are emergencies, there is a 911 phone outside of the hospital where you can call. It will then implement a page system where the staff will then come to address whatever emergencies that there might be. We also have a dispensary on Roy, which is much smaller than the hospital. Anybody here that's going to Roy, or are you just here today, or everybody on Kwaj? All right, so Roy has a smaller clinic, and their operation hours are Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays from 7 to 11, and Wednesdays from 7 to 11, 12 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They have a much smaller staff over there. They only have 2 people that man the whole clinic. And they are also on call 24/7 for any emergencies that might happen outside of those hours. We are closed on holidays, but again, the emergency system goes into place. So medical, these are the services that are provided with medical. Emergency, inpatient, outpatient, critical access to hospital, 24-hour on-call, surgical stabilization. There is a surgeon on staff. We have 3 of our new staff members here, actually in the briefing, Dr. Shin, Heidi, and Robert. Heidi's our CRNA. Dr. Shin is our new MD of medical practice.
Yeah, family medicine.
Family medicine. And Robert is one of our new nurses on board. We have occupational health. There will be times where some of the sponsor agencies that you have will send their employees over for physicals or for updates, and so there is a nurse who's actually on staff at the hospital, who's an occupational nurse who takes care of all of that stuff, work physicals. There is a physical therapist on staff here who does physical therapy for bones, orthopedic type of treatment and things of that nature. Medical evacuation and medical referral, which is Helen. She actually oversees that whole thing. And we'll talk more about that because we get a little bit more specific about that. And then lastly, there's at least some of the medical license counselor employee assistance program. That's me, that's what I do. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. We also have general dentistry. The dentist clinic is a little bit on the other side of the island over by the gym. They can do routine type of things like dental cleaning, dental hygiene, but any type of oral surgeries or anything like that would need to be referred off island, like any serious type of dental work. We have a veterinary clinic. We have a vet tech who's on staff. Also emergency care. Our most recent vet tech just went off island. We are still waiting for somebody to come on, but we do have the access for telehealth or televet services that your pets, if you travel with pets, they can be taken care of. The veterinary visits, quarterly visit, U.S. Army. This particular program is fee for service. Everything else, the dental, the medical, is all insurance-based. However, any type of vet services is fee at the time of service. These are the people who have access to the services. Active duty personnel, DOD civilian personnel, contractors with K badges, and RM personnel who have been grandfathered in. The RMIs with C badges have access to EAP services and emergency services only. Anything outside of that would need to be addressed on EVOC. Work-related emergencies, that would be Helen again, TDI personnel. It's again payment at time of service. We ask that everybody, even if you're not sick, to go to the hospital, do a registration. It does not identify anything that you might, services that you might be getting. It is a record so that if you come into the hospital on an emergency, you're unconscious, you can't give us information, we know who you are, we can pull your information up. So please take the time to just go by and make sure that you're registered with the front desk. Identification, K-badge required at time of service. They're going to ask you for your ID. And then, of course, veterinary is cash check, credit card for services. Medical evacuations. Now, this is extremely important, right? This is a whole nother piece. I told you about Helen, who does the workman's comp medical evacuations. Make sure that you check with your sponsor agencies that you have medical evac insurance, because this particular service can range anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000. If you don't have that insurance, it will fall to you. Also be aware that this is not a process that's going to move quickly. You will not get off this island for at least 72 hours, 48 hours on a good day. So I would strongly encourage you not to take unnecessary risks where you might be injured or whatever. Accidents happen that are unforeseen, but don't do the TikTok videos. That's not something that you want to do here. Okay. Air ambulances will not depart from the base airfield without guarantee of payment up front. Again, that insurance is very important. Precautions must be taken. Medevac insurance. Again, we're talking insurance, insurance, insurance. You do not want to incur this type of expense without having some type of coverage. All right? Again, the timeline, I'm telling you, 72 hours, 48 on a good day. Now, these are the EAP services. These are the areas that I deal with. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I have a drug and alcohol license, so I'm able to work with people who have substance abuse issues. I'm pretty sure that if you've been sitting in this presentation for most of the day, you've heard people say, oh yeah, there's a problem with alcohol on Kwaj and Roy, and there's alcohol and there's alcohol, and that's true. And there are times when people want to kind of cut back or scale back, but I want people to also understand that you want to do that safely. Because I have people who are drinking and they know they're drinking way too much and they just want to go cold turkey, and that's not good. That could turn out to be one of those medevac situations. So you want to come in and get an assessment. If that's what you want to do, you want to come in and find out whether or not you can do it safely. Anger management. People have, people get angry. There's frustration. There's all these types of things. Communication skills, and that goes not just for individuals, it also goes for families, it also goes for the institutions where managers are having conflict with employee relationships. Relationship support, that could be either family members that are here or family that are not here. And there's trouble in the relationship. Anxiety and depression. Some people come to Kwaj and Roy, and they might also already have a pre-existing anxiety condition or depressive condition, or you might develop a depressive condition here. And then secondly, well, after that, the adjustment, because adjustment presents with both anxiety and depression, or it can be mixed. Now, before I move on from that, I'm actually starting a group. It's a Newcomers group, and it's dealing specifically with adjustment. And that means that you're dealing with things like people who are coming here and you're kind of disillusioned, you don't know what to do, you're isolated, you don't have connections, your family, all of these things. You're not sleeping well. So this is an opportunity to kind of get in a group with people who are new, who can talk about some of these things and some strategies to kind of mitigate that distress that people have just in deploying from wherever you're coming from to here. Grief support. Grief is anything from losing a loved one, losing a pet, to losing a job, or a relationship. It could be anything. Weight management. There are people here who come and they want to deal with weight management. They want to deal with stress management, smoking cessation. The services are confidential. Whatever you say to me, they stay with me. With the exception of if you're going to harm yourself, you're going to harm someone else, there's child abuse, child neglect. But other than that, you can talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. It stays between you and I. I'm on Roy every other Friday. So the services are also provided on Roy. And also MEC. Because if anybody's going out to MEC and you might be stationed out there for a rotation for an extended period of time, I do go to MEC at least once a month. So this is our staff, and you got 3 of them in the room today. They are a great team. We got top-notch professionals who do what they do. I've seen them in action, but understand this, that this is a very isolated location, so there are limitations. So again, be very careful, don't take unnecessary risks so that you end up in the ER. All right? Thank you. This can go around. If you're interested in this group, just sign your name and put your email on there, and I'll reach out to you and let you know the details.
So you said the group, that's kind of like just something you're going to organize?
I'm going to organize it when I find out who's interested. We will talk about date, time, and location once we find out who actually wants to.
And that is like for your insurance? That's for something you pay with insurance?
No. EAP services are free.
Okay.
Unlimited and free.
And you mentioned a couple other things like anger management or something like that. So you do counseling also?
I do. I do individual counseling, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be like insurance?
No, that's not it. It's free too.
Dental, you have to pay for it.
Dental is insurance as well. Unless you're with one of those agencies that are not covered, TDY or something like that. Other than that, the dental services would be covered under your insurance. Any other questions? All right. I'll wait on that list to come around before I go.
Hey everybody, I'm not Scott Hill. I'm Rick. I do all the MWR fun stuff for community activities, but probably talk about all of the community activity services moving forward. When did y'all start?
This class?
Yeah.
At 1.
At 1. So we've already been here for a long time, so I'm going to talk fast. But basically, we do a lot of fun stuff here on the island. If you're not plugged in on Facebook and you hate Facebook, fine. There's bulletin boards all around the island. Keep an eye on the bulletin board. If you've got Facebook, Garrison's got a page, MWR's got a page for community events, for community sports. You can really get plugged into everything we've got going on. We rent carts, we rent boats, we rent bowling alleys. I can talk literally for hours about all of the fun stuff that we do here. Easiest way to do is just to plug yourself in the community, start to meet folks, and get out. The internet's slow out here, which is fine. It's beautiful. The Club Med for contractors get out and enjoy this life. The Sherwood Library, did the tour probably with JP, y'all passed it. The library is directly across the street from the police station. It's your information hub. Upstairs at the library and also downstairs to rent your carts, by the bowling center. Come in, look around, get your info there. Also rent your carts there. Adult Rec Center, Corvette Rec Center, Ivy Gym, and the adult athletics are open to all residents. The adult rec center is normally for people in unaccompanied quarters. It's right in the middle of all the BQs, but people in housing are welcome as long as they're 21 years or older. This is not for children, it's an adult rec center. There's pool tables, dartboards, just a great place to go hang out. Corvette Rec Center is a gymnasium, basketball courts. There's also fitness rooms scattered around and multi-purpose rooms. Tomorrow is Garrison Game Night. The Colonel's hosting a game night, room 6 and room 1. Everybody's welcome to come. Say goodbye to Colonel Pugsley and family as they're leaving. Always stuff going on.
Where is that?
The Corvette Rec Center is all the way at the opposite end of the island, on the north side of the island. When you start seeing the high school, if you look right, it's the Corvette Rec Center. If you look left, you'll see Emma Beach, the big beach way out there. But it's across the street from the high school. And if you get over there 6:30 or 7 o'clock, just park where all the other bikes are parked. You see a bunch of bikes parked somewhere, just park your bike and see what's going on. Yeah, it's a fun community out here. Ivy Gym, open 24 hours a day. It's a very well-equipped fitness gym. Cyber lock code is 5432. If you want to go to the gym, there's a lock. Hit 5432. Go in. Please sign in. The way that we get funding is to prove that we've got X number of people a day. The more people that sign in, the more money I get to replace the gear. Wipe the equipment down after you use it. We've got wet wipes all over the place. Wipe it down. If you're utilizing the equipment, just stay with it so somebody doesn't get on it, get all sweaty. But do keep them clean for the next person.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times already, and I want to thank you guys for keeping it up. It's a really nice gym.
Yeah, I mean, for a population of 1,500, it's nice. So absolutely, utilize that. And also fitness classes. We offer fitness classes. You can come to the library and get a punch card or a membership. We do Zumba toning, Zumba dance, Zumba fitness, a lot of Zumba. And then yoga, core fitness, band stuff.
Resistance.
It's like PX90. It sounds intimidating, but it's not. Yes, TRX. You see TRX, don't be scared. It's actually like pretty lightweight. It's resistance training, but it's good stuff. Check that out. Athletics, we offer intramural sports, team sports every quarter. Summer we didn't have a lot of involvement, so we forego. We only had 2 teams sign up, but we do softball, soccer, volleyball, water polo, and an inner tubes. Floating around in tubes, you have to come check it out. But if you are wanting to participate in sports, you can just sign up at the library individually, or you can jump in with a team. And like I said, Facebook page, there's even a sports page, because sports is a big thing out here.
What's the next team sport coming up?
Soccer. Adult pool, I probably passed it on the tour. It's on the ocean side, just past the Ocean View bars, literally when we leave here, just down there. No fencing around, it's adults only. We do ask you don't take glass bottles out there, please. But open 6 days a week, 1 day a week. We have to drain it, power wash it, and clean it, but that's on Friday. But absolutely open, great venue to host parties, just go hang out. We also have a family pool, the Millican family pool. It is open for designated hours with a lifeguard. Adults are more than welcome to go there, but it does have a kid side and a deep end side. So 2 pools to offer, and it's the same water as in the ocean. There's salt water pumped in. It just does a circulation. The beach is the same as the pool, and it's the same water. The beaches, Emon Beach, everybody been to the beach? Beautiful. Most everybody goes to Emon, but and you hear it pronounced Emon, same thing. But Emon. Further down the island, there's a yacht club by Camp Hamilton. There's another beach kind of in the middle of the island, lagoon side, and then all the way on the south end, over close to Man Camp, is Coral Sands Beach, all of which are available. The Hamilton and Coral Sand Beach also have fire pits. If you want to do a fire, then you just come to the library, fill out a quick little permit, and you can do bonfires out there. All of the pavilions are able to be reserved for private parties. If y'all have any events or anything, contact me. We can host, we can get food catered in, we can help you get entertainment lined up, rent you tables, chairs, you name it, we'll help you. We do that also for big events, but also for private events. Hobby shop is behind the library. Great little place. Go do your hobbies. Do a lot of pottery, woodwork, nice. Check it out if you're interested.
Can you pay the fees at the hobby shop, or do you have to go to your office?
You can pay at the hobby shop.
Sorry. What are the fees?
It's a lot. Not a lot of money. There's a lot of fees. You can pay for a pass fee that's like a 1-day fee or a 3-day pass, or a family 6-month, or an individual 1 year. It's a lot. I think it's like $125 a year per person. And you do have to pay for clay if you want to buy clay. So all of the equipment comes with it, all the paints and glazes and things like that, but you have to buy your own clay if you're really doing that stuff. And you have to source your own wood if you're doing wood projects, which is not easy, sourcing wood out here. But it's not impossible.
Emon Beach, is that the one with the lifeguard?
Yes.
What are the hours for the lifeguard?
They just stepped up because it's summertime. They're there 7 days a week from noon to 5, noon to 6. And then when school starts back, it just goes to Saturday, Sunday, Monday from noon to 6. Young Theater Movies, in kind of the very middle of all of the bachelor quarters, you'll see an apron. That's the Young Theater. We do movies there every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. The first Saturday of the month is Dad's Movie Night. All the dads show up with the kids, and only the moms go to the bar and do karaoke. If you get on the Facebook page, there's listings. We always put out the movie listings, and we also do outdoor movie showings. We got an inflatable screen that we set up to do movies. This weekend we're doing the dive-in movie at the adult pool. We just changed it. It was going to be Parade, but we changed it to Suicide Squad. But yeah, you can go out to the adult pool, watch a movie, a lot of fun. We have a golf course. Fees are similar. You can pay green fees, you can pay green passes, semi-annual, annual. They come with lockers. It's a 9-hole course on Kwaj and a 9-hole course on Roy. But for the small population, it's actually pretty nice, really well kept. Go out if you're a golfer. Swing by the library to pay payments and set your lockers up. And once you're out of the country club, there is a bar out there. They're open Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Afternoons on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Sundays and Mondays on the weekends, they open up early. Sundays, they stay till 5 p.m. Mondays, they close at 2 p.m.
Friday range?
We're soon. We're looking at getting one of the carts to go pick up the balls, and we're going to set up a range up there. But 9 holes, you can just keep hitting at the same hole. It's not really crowded. It's you could literally just camp out there and just hit balls that way and hit balls that way back and forth. but we are looking at getting a driving range put in. But the second part, the ocean view, it's just on the opposite side of the adult pool. You might hear it called pit, snake pit. That's what it's historically been called. Ocean view snake pit, same thing. It's an open air bar, kind of like a dive bar, but we have a huge slighted renovation pool. So we're fingers crossed that we get the funding and approved for that, because it is dated, but it's a nice bar to go out to. FWR prices are set to FWR global prices. Nothing is extremely expensive. Golf is cheap. Bowling is $2 a game. You know, beers at the bar are $4 a beer. I mean, it's, you know, price pointed, pretty efficient. But as the gentleman said, people watch alcohol consumption out here. It is easy to have too much fun. Golf balls and airplanes don't mix. So, if you're golfing and one of your balls goes over to the runway, that's their ball. Do not go running across the runway to get your ball. Ever. Stay off the runway. You know, accidents happen. You slice it, get another ball. Try it again. Also, if you see people riding around close by on carts or bikes, when you see a plane coming down, just wait for them to get by. We don't want them to hit by a golf ball. Small boat marina, one of my favorites. We rent 24-foot center console twin engine boats to go scuba diving, fishing, snorkeling, just go out cruising on. You do have to take a class, which I will teach you. If you've never driven a boat, I will get you comfortable, confident to go take these boats out into the ocean at your level. So anybody interested in renting boats, you can set it up directly through me, Rick Jameson. I'm over at the library. You can set it up at the marina. Neat place to go visit if y'all haven't visited. They've got a lot of bopple. Nurse sharks. Marshallese means dog sharks. The nurse sharks are out here like puppy dogs. You can have them. They're not going to bother you. Neat place to go where they clean the fish. They throw all the scraps in the water, and the nurse sharks just hang out. So you can just go out there, look at the sharks, talk to the guys, and get set up to rent the boats. Don't leave here without going on a boat, whether you get a license or not. You know, even if you get seasick, pick a nice calm day, get out there on the water. It is absolutely breathtaking out here. Get out and enjoy island life as much as you can.
How much is the class?
It's $80 a half day plus beer. It's so cheap. I think they're looking at increasing the rates all the way up to $100 for a half day. So, well, me and 3 of my buddies normally go fishing or diving, so you got 4 people on the boat. And even if it's $100 and you spend $100 in gas, it's $50 a person to go spend a half day out on the water on 70,000. Yeah, it's awesome. Get out there, enjoy the water. So now I get to talk about church. This is still under the same umbrella. Obviously, this is R&B. The chapel is right beside us. They do Catholic masses here on Saturdays, and then additional church services all the day through Sunday. Not going to go too much in depth in this because not really my area, but we do have wonderful staff available. We've got a new Catholic that just came in, and Brian Connor's still here, and they will handle all of your religious needs. They turnkey, great group of guys. PAO, this is Garrison, but yes, important to know, have they mentioned about being cautious about what you post out here? So I'm not going to repeat it, same thing, but yeah, be cautious of what you post. Sunrise Bakery, we have in the downtown area. They have donuts and coffee in the mornings. They also do pizza service in the afternoon. looking at ramping up to some lunch offerings, mixing it up. So some big changes are coming for the bakery, but it's great. And if you were wanting to cater a party or get a party catered, you can speak with them. They can sell you casseroles, complete cater your entire event. So that's always an option. Go see Jesse over at the bakery. If you got a birthday party, want to get a big sheet cake, they even have the little thing that'll print the frozen design or however you want to get. It's neat. So pretty cool stuff. Surfside Salon, that's one of ours. We have almost a full service spa and salon. They don't do manicures, pedicures, but as far as hair services, haircuts, absolutely. Colors, cuts, perms, all of that kind of stuff we do here on Island. So that, as well as downtown right beside the post office, across the street from Avies. So normally by appointment only, but they do walk-ins on Thursday afternoon. Right now. Army Post Office is right beside the salon. They're just not putting in the new boxes. We're getting all new boxes. So if you haven't already, go to the post office, talk to James. He will give you your mailing address. Not everybody's getting boxes because they're building a corridor to put our box in. If you're one of the other ones that have a box below number 600, you're going to get a key, you're going to get a box. Irregardless, you can start shipping mail here immediately, but do watch what you ship. No lithium batteries can come through the post, and they frown heavily against shipping things to yourself that's not designated for you. This is a appropriated post. So do be cautious. You will be approached. Hey, can you order this for me and ship it in? If you get caught shipping stuff in to people that are not supposed to be giving shipped stuff to them, you can lose your mouth privileges. So do watch out for that.
I'm done.
Wait a minute.
All right.
So folks, welcome to the Olive. Anything fun that we don't do, let me know. Seriously, Lex, we can do it. We can have it. Enjoy island life.
Greetings everyone, welcome to the Tropics. Nick Mursky, I'm the Chief Meteorologist here at the weather station. It's located here on Kwaj on the south side of the runway on the golf course. Next slide. So fun first picture here. This is actually on the golf course. You're looking east out towards the ocean, and there's actually a water spout here. That's actually on the ocean. So we do get a few of those, maybe 1 or 2 are seen and observed every year. There was one that came on shore in 2017 that damaged the tennis court. All the wind guards were torn off. So yeah, respective of course, and if you're a small boat out here, give respect. Certainly if you're biking, it's not going to bike. Next slide, please. So we basically have 2 seasons here. Right now we're kind of in the transition season going towards the middle of the wet season, wet and less windy season. And then the other season, let's say from December through May, is the dry, windy season. Although today is kind of an exception. We've been in a dry spell and it's quite breezy today, as you noticed. But we're generally heading towards lighter winds and rainier weather. And in fact, we probably have some decent rains coming up over the next few days and Sunday, and then probably a little drier like Monday and Tuesday. So we average about 5 inches of rain, let's say, so December through May, and then about 10 inches the remainder months. February is our driest month, and September, October are our wettest months. And during the wet season, we'll see winds sometimes get ultra calm wind conditions. So be mindful of that if you're sailing. And then also on the flip side, we can get some very gusty winds because we're in a convective environment. Almost all the rain that we get starts off with showers. And then oftentimes the wind is strat form rain, but it's almost always starts off as showers out here. Very humid, very little change in temperature, humidity throughout the year. And interestingly, we're I'll go on to the next slide. So right now we're, you see the news, we're now officially in an El Nino, and that's important for us out here. It has a direct impact on us. Occurs about every, it's a very chaotic kind of oscillation, but every 2 to 7 years, something like that, 3 to 5 years. So with El Nino, we can expect greater frequency of west wind events. So we're typically, our prevailing winds are typically northeast, east-northeast from the east, but during El Ninos, we can get episodes of west winds. We had a couple weekends ago that happened where we had a few hours of strong west winds and it just damaged the small northern Nino. Some of the boats on Eli as well were, I think, flipped over, but I think they were recovered, right? Yeah. So, yeah, it's something to be mindful of. The other thing that comes with El Nino is a much higher risk for tropical cyclones. Yay. So, fortunately, we're on the east end of the tropical cyclone formation zone. Most of them just form here as depressions, move off, head towards the Philippines, Japan. But with El Nino, that zone shifts further east, so we're more under the gun. So during 2015, that was in El Nino. We had a tropical storm Bobby that hit at gusts of 47 knots. That storm did over $1 million in damage. And then also in El Nino in 1992 or 91, it was Zelda, which struck Thanksgiving. And that was 55 gusting to 71 were the peak winds on that one. And that did over $8 million in damage. We haven't had any deaths on the island since the U.S. has had control of the island. It's definitely something to consider. Major storm, like a major typhoon, it's very rare to hit him, but it's not impossible. And certainly could be more possible than El Nino. So, and you'll certainly learn all about it if it's, something is headed our way or could be headed our way. So, yeah, I guess that's what I'll talk about. All right, yeah. Lightning is definitely a threat up here. We, not main tall structures, as you notice, so we make good targets. We get about thunderstorm days per year. We get about 10 to 15. So by comparison, let's say Chicago gets about 30. Some states in Florida get 90 thunderstorm days a year. Thunderstorm day just means that thunder has been heard from the station. Not a huge amount, but we certainly, it's something to be respected. If you hear thunder, take cover, seek shelter in a sturdy structure. If you hear thunder, you can easily be within the range of a thunderstorm. I think the maximal range of thunder is about 10 to 15 miles, so that's easily within the range of a thunderstorm. So. Next slide. All right, so we do forecast 4 times a day, update them every 4 times a day. We have meteorologists that work the weather desk who support missions as well as just the general public and aviation. And so we're on the weather desk 24/7 out here. And so feel free to give us a call if you have any kinds of questions. Provide warnings on anything that concerns boating, lightning warnings, west wind warnings, any kind of surf, shoreline flooding advisories, or special weather statements. You'll see warning on the TV as a, I think it's, what do you call it, scroller, I guess, on the bottom of the screen, or on the website, it will be a red banner. So, next slide, please. Sorry I didn't update the numbers. As you know, it's 480 and then 4700 for we get the weather observations from the airfield. 3347 if you want to talk to a live person on the weather desk. Again, that's 24/7. Feel free to call if you have any questions. Yeah, 20-1 is the weather channel shows the radar moves, satellite moves, and forecasts and tides and all that good stuff. Yeah, that's it. Any questions?
How often do they do this orientation?
Once a month. You mean just this whole general orientation? Yeah, once a month.
Not 15?
I think it's like the first Thursday or first Thursday of the month. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Welcome to the
Thank you. Now?
Yep. Cool. Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to see you're all still holding strong. I apologize that they saved the really boring stuff till the end, but I'll try to make it as fast as possible. My name is Aaron Brownell. I'm an environmental engineer with the environmental department here at Kwaj. And we're going to go over general topics for living on the island. We track air quality for the purposes of making sure that we stay within our regulatory limits. Most of what we track is emissions from the power plants. All of the power plants on all the various islands, whether they're the small islands that handle the radar installations or the big islands that have habitation, are all generator fired or generator unit fired diesel run generator plants. So we have to track the air emissions that we put on to make sure that we're in compliance with our standards for the RMI. Number one question we get at orientation: is the water safe to drink? Rock solid, yes. Water here goes through a great amount of testing. It's about the same amount of testing that a medium-sized city gets in the United States across the various islands of the atoll. So the water here is of good quality. If you would like to see the information on it, we post a pamphlet yearly that gives out the water quality report. It's located most places where you can find general information on the islands. The go-to that I use is there's a dispenser for those types of pamphlets at the post office. So if you're looking for it, you can get a copy of it there. If the water department is going to do work, if they have to flush lines, if they have to do maintenance activity or stuff, they will put that information out to the general public. Normally it comes out on the roller, it'll come out in the hourglass. You'll hear it on the intermediate ads on AFM radio when you're listening to the radio. So if DPW does have to get something out, that's how they do it. Reclaimed water. There are two water systems on the island. By far the biggest one is the drinking water system. There's also a system for water that you don't necessarily need to interact with as much. All of the flush toilets on the island and all of the outside hose bibs that are used for general washing down and watering your lawns and those types of things are all reclaimed water. The water gets reprocessed at the water treatment plant and reutilized. The reason for this is we have a small drinking water pool on the island. There's a well, what's called a lens well, that runs down the middle of the island that holds fresh water and it rides on top of the saltwater table. That gets augmented by rainwater. There are rainwater catchment systems here. There's one on Neck, there's one on Roy that collect rainwater. That provides all of our drinking water. That water gets sanitized by the water treatment plant and put out in drinking water. So any water they can recapture to not have to utilize the drinking water we use for other purposes. The long and the short of this is there are two different colored hose bibs on the island. There's a yellow one and a red one. By far on outside buildings, whether it's residences and you have a spigot on the side of your house, or it's hose bibs that are on the outside of the BQs, they'll be red. Red means that it's reclaimed water. You don't want to drink it. It's fine to use. It just has a high chlorine shock to it. So if you drink it, it's going to taste funky. During the summer, you always see little kids out running around in groups. They'll run over to the side of the house. You know, little kids have better immune systems than we do at our age. So stay with the drinking water inside. You'll be fine. But otherwise, just understand that anything that is marked red is reclaimed water. Also, we're sensitive across all of the islands to how we handle discharge, whether it's rainwater discharge, whether it's wash off from our lawns and things like that, because all of the storm water goes from where it gets collected into the lagoon side of the island. It doesn't matter which island you're on, they all go into the lagoon side. So we tend to spend a lot of time talking to shops, talking to residences, getting the word out to pay attention to what you're putting down your drains, basically, so you don't have to worry about putting more pressure on the infrastructure and the marine environment that we have to do. Next slide. Endangered species. This is my favorite. Everything out here that you're going to interact with, barring one sparrow that I can't remember the name of. All of the fish, all of the birds, all of the turtles, all of the crabs and the clams, all of those things. If you're a better diver than I am, all of the marine mammals you're going to get to interact with. They're all either on an endangered species list or a protected species list. So just give them their due, give them some space, let them do their thing. Give them a look-see and let them be on their way. A lot of the species out here either sting or bite, depending on their size. So if you aggravate them, you may end up at the hospital seeing these good folks. Also, if you get out and you're doing your thing out in the water and you get refresh, take care of it. Because the coral has a parasite in it. I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head. But it will give you an infection, and it will give you an infection quite immediately. You won't have to wait long for it. So make sure if you're out and about and you get scuffed up when you're doing your thing in the surf, clean those wounds, get some Neosporin on them, do your thing. If they look kind of funky, go see the nice people at the hospital. They'll be happy to help you out. Do not, as a general rule, if you're a fisherman, don't eat the fish, especially the lagoon side fish. If you're in the fishing club and you're going out and you're deep water fishing, that's all fine. But if you're bank fishing, especially on the lagoon side, don't eat the fish. We've been pumping industrial rainwater, stormwater runoff into the lagoon for the better part of 70 years. There is a natural buildup of heavy metals, PCBs, those types of things in the marine environment. And by and large, most of the fish on the lagoon side also naturally have a toxin called citronella. Sounds right, and it will make you ill if you eat it. So don't eat fish. Or if you start to get ill, if you do eat fish and start to get ill, go see that people at the hospital. Next slide, please. That's a good fish. One positive note on animals. If you happen to see turtles, and they look like they're coming ashore, or they look like they've been on shore for a while and they're going offshore, if you look like you're finding things where you might have turtle nesting, let us know. Let somebody know. Okay? Call the non-emergency line at the police station. Call the environmental department. Let somebody call the Garrison, community services line, and let somebody know. All of the beaches on all of the islands are turtle nesting areas, including Emma. Including Emma. So normally what happens is that the turtle nesting has a set cycle. It takes about 52 days for the turtles to hatch and then swim offshore and go back to the water. So those beaches will get closed for that amount of time until the turtles have had their due, because they get first run at the beaches. So if you do happen to see any turtle activity, let somebody know, and so we can go out and assess it and see what's going on. Obviously, you've heard this a couple times, and you probably got it in the briefings that you got from who your employers are before you came out here, but all of the islands that we leased from the RMA government were World War II combat activity sites. They all had conflicts on them at one point in time or another, and they all have leftover World War II relics in the form of cultural resources, whether they are large or small. If you take a tour around here, I recommend when you get some time to do the one on Roy. Roy's World War II monuments are in much better condition. They're much bigger and they're cooler, frankly. And take the ride around and see the old Japanese batteries and gun emplacements and things like that. The ones here are nice. The archaeology department actually has a tour pamphlet where it'll tell you how to take the bike ride and where to stop, and there's markers around the island at each stop that tell you something about what you're looking at. Just understand that we find cultural artifacts all the time, even after this many decades. Whether that's old objects or it's bodies, either or. They really are still finding stuff from World War II here on a continual basis. That being said, if you find something along the way, just leave it where it is. And again, pick up the phone, let somebody know. Call the archaeology department and say, hey, I was out wherever and I saw this thing and it looked, really old, and you may want to go take a look at it. Just because, like I said, they're finding stuff all the time. That stuff gets assessed, and depending on what it turns out to be, gets sent back to wherever it needs to go. Some stuff sometimes gets sent back to Japan, some stuff goes to the RMI, some stuff we keep, it depends on what it is. And if it does turn out to be remains, there's a long process for getting those individuals repatriated to their own country, and that needs to be handled delicately. So, like I said, if you find something, let it be. Call the archaeology department. They'll be happy to pick it up and run with it. This is important because if you need to do any digging on the island for any reason, if you work in a shop that does those kind of activities, if you are going to have a party at your residence and you rent one of those big tents from MWR, they got to pound all the stakes in. Anything that has more than 6 inches of penetration into the ground, you have to have a dig permit. Part of this is based on the fact that when the utilities were put in here, they were put in all varying different types of levels, so depending on where you are on the island, they may not be that deep. And also, if you are doing an excavation, they need to be assessed by the archaeology department to make sure that if anything's found, it's taken care of properly. So, if you need a dig permit for any reason, call the public service desk over at DPW and just let them know that you need a dig permit, why, and they'll get that ball rolling for you. You can either call them at the 4339 number, or you can send them an email. Both work the same. They'll get back to you if you send them an email and get you on your way. Most all of the stuff, it's probably the right phrase for it, that gets generated on the island gets handled on the island. So, how many people we have going into residences? Oh, that's a shock. Low number for this group. Okay, everybody else going into BQs? Okay. For those of you in the BQs, when you take your trash out, you'll see a great big round black container with flip top on it. Says General Solid Waste. Trash can. Collects most of the stuff. Right next to it, you will see a wooden multi-opening container box. That's aluminum cans. That's glass bottles. If you're bringing out wood or cleaning up your yard, because a lot of people in the BQs have a section of yard that they maintain. They keep the chair and their barbecue grill out there, so they rake everything up. That type of yard material, just sit it next to the trash can in its own pile. Solid waste will come along; they'll pick it up just fine. For those of you in the BQs, you're going to have rollout curbside trash cans, just like you would in the States. For most of them. Just make an effort to separate your recyclables. Most people on the island use a milk crate or something sturdy like that. They'll throw all their beer cans in it, and their wine bottles and things like that. Just when you look at your trash, separate out your recyclables, your aluminum, your glass, your metal from your regular trash. Everything here, the metal gets reused if it can. Most of the aluminum cans, all that stuff gets baled into bales and sent out on a barge. The glass actually gets recycled. It gets pulverized and used. Really, the majority of it right now actually goes to the wastewater treatment plant, and they lay it in the beds of the sewage intake. So that way, when they're draining the sewage and solidifying it, it has something to adhere to. Most all the vegetation that gets picked up goes out and it naturally decomposes. And if they need to work on a project, they'll mulch some up for it, but the rest of it goes to natural decomposing. And then all of your trash gets incinerated. So the more that we can separate out of trash, the less incineration. For waste disposal, make sure you do the same thing as you would with your recycling. Separate it out to the side, and make sure it's its own collection. And then when solid waste comes through, they'll pick it up and keep it in a different pile and give it to the guys that has waste.
Hey, Aaron, this is Don. I mean, we put out a lot of garbage here. You know. Are you telling me that most of the garbage after it gets separated, it gets incinerated here on the island?
Yes. There's an incinerator here on Kwaj that's multi-chamber. It's a fairly big unit. And there's a smaller incinerator on Roy and on Mac.
Wow.
Most all of the residential trash, most all of the industrial trash that comes out of the shops and things like that you can't burn goes to the incinerator. Also, we collect and reutilize all of the oil-based products on this island actually get incinerated. So all of your used oil, your diesel, JP5, hydraulic, down to the cooking oil out of the defect. The incinerator on Kwajalein is designed to burn waste oil. So we don't have to ship that off as a waste and spend exorbitant amounts of money shipping it to China and then back to California so we can get rid of it. It all gets turned over here and turns into a recycling.
How come I never see any smoke when this is going on?
Good processes.
Really?
And actually, right now the incinerator on Roy's down for repairs, but it actually is a fairly clean burning system.
I find that amazing.
It's a high maintenance unit, but when it is running, they're burning all the time. They burn about 3 days a week. Basically, get a burn day, and then it takes a day to empty it because it takes the chamber has to cool down before they can dump it, and then they'll reload it, and then they'll burn day, and then they empty it, and this cycle just continues on and on and on. And it's normally enough to handle the waste load for Kwajalein. General stuff you want to get rid of. If you've got old light bulbs, old batteries, things like that. Light bulbs and batteries, you can take them over to self-help. The building is located in the building behind the police department. They'll just accept them from you. If you've got, your general use flashlight size batteries, D batteries, C batteries, up to like a 6-volt dry cell battery, you can also take those to the shop and just take them in and say, I have some batteries I got to get rid of. They'll take them from you and dispose of them as well. Just don't turn down your trash. Set them, again, like everything else, set them off to the side, put them in a different waste stream, and then the guys at solid waste, when they do their turn, we'll pick those things up. Pest management. If you need anything done pest management wise, ants are the big one. Have been for the last couple months. Ants, flies, mosquitoes, all that stuff. Please don't call pest management. Call the service order desk and put in a work request to have pest control done. We have a great group of pest management guys, and they're super busy, and they're super happy to help. So if you call them, they're going to take all your information, they're going to be really nice about it, and then they're going to ask you to call the service order desk and put in a work request. Put in a request, they'll come out, they'll handle whatever you got. We are sneaking up on mosquito season with the start of the rainy season that we're going to start working into here in the next month or so. With the rainy season comes a couple of things. For the people that are homeowners, residences, pay attention to your areas outside. Kids' toys, lawn ornaments, chairs, things like that that can collect water and make ponding areas. After the rains, which mostly come at night, so in the morning when you're out looking around, dump those things out. Get rid of the potential breeding area for the mosquitoes, and it will cut your activity down. Once we really do get into mosquito season, the pest management department is going to be going around the island fogging for mosquitoes. That usually happens after work hours, usually after 5 o'clock. They'll put that information out again on the roller and in the hourglass and on the radio to let you know that, hey, Saturday night they're going to be fogging for mosquitoes. Not so much as important for people living in the BQs because we don't have a lot of stuff outside, but for those of you that it's in the residence, especially if you have kids, if you know they're going to fog, pick up the kids' toys, bring them inside so they don't get fogged with mosquito repellent as well. If they do, it's not a big deal. Just go out in the morning and rinse your stuff off. So that way you don't have to worry about that contact potential. Okay. Emergency readiness preparedness. Because we all live together and we all have a small water catchment system to drink out of, we ask that as good stewards of the island when you're out and about in the area, if you do happen to notice something, that we need to be aware of, especially spills, releases, it happens here. We have an old equipment fleet. We have a lot of stuff that needs repair. It's the nature of the business that we're in. Just if you see something that you come across something, you're like, hey, that needs to be cleaned up, let us know. Give the environmental department a call, or call my friend the chief at 911 and say, hey, there's this situation on 6th Street or wherever you find it, and they'll be happy to come out and look at it and then call us and let us know. If it's an active release of some variety, call 911 and let them know, let them do their thing. The fire department here is a very good group of guys, and they're more than happy to help you out with all of your needs. But as far as spills go, just kind of hold one thing in the back of your head. It's what we call the 3 R's here on the island. Basically, recognize, retreat, and report. And that is, if you see something that looks kind of funky, recognize that, hey, somebody did something, somebody messed up with something, something's going on that maybe somebody needs to know about. If it's super big and you need to run away, that's cool. I appreciate that. If you are going to run away, take everybody else with you. Sometimes that gets forgotten, especially in shops when people are busy at their own bench doing their own thing. And then, once you're on your way, call 911, let the fire department know, and like I said, they'll come out, they'll make an assessment, is what they do, and they'll decide what level of activity it is. For those of you that are in shops or working for other contractors or for other companies, that when you get into your work duties, if you end up needing training on this, the environmental department does a lot of training. We do it scattered out through the year, whether it's custodian training or spill notification training or other things. Just let us know. Give us a call. We'll be happy to either guide you to information or let you know when the next class is and get you involved in it. Normally we put out all our information on, the same communication stream everybody else is using. When classes are coming up, they'll be out on the hourglass and on the roller, and that information will be out in the system in advance so you kind of know what's coming. I beat myself to it. I changed the slide pack a couple of months ago. It just hasn't been updated yet, so I'm using the new one and not the old one. Should be. Okay, cool. And other than that, thank you very much for your time.
You probably gave it to us already, but is there an environmental number? I didn't write it down.
2633 will get you me.
On it.
And with all of it, feel free to call. I spend half of my week just out around talking to people about environmental stewardship. So, if you got any questions, let us know. We'll be happy to get you information, point you in the right direction, whatever that needs to be. And on that note, welcome to Kwaj. I hope you enjoy your stay.
Sure. everyone. I hope Aaron didn't scare you to death. So I do have a sheet that I have to go around because we are contractually obligated to do this particular slide presentation. So please, name and signature is all I ask for. But please make it legible so I can transcribe it somewhere else. My name is Errol Celeste. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief of Prevention here on this island. And I have multiple jobs, but I have one goal. My goal is to make sure you and our employees go home safely, okay? Before I get started, anybody who worked in Iraq, Afghanistan, places like that? All right, forget all of that. All right, this is a whole new place. Let's go to the first slide. Next one. I've got an updated slide too coming soon. So we got 3 fire stations currently. We operate out of Kwaj, Roy, and Mek. Mek is one of our islands that we just recently started having 24-hour service there. So we have services, the exact same services here on Kwaj, we have them at those islands as well. Next slide. All right, so we do fire suppression response, medical emergency services, aircraft responses, you name it, we do basically everything. And facility inspections and extinguisher maintenance, very important here on Kwajalein. Sandbox, you just bring your fire extinguisher to the station, they swap you out 1 for 1, but that's not how it operates here. First test question, if you need a fire extinguisher, service test. With a service request in, we will get it, we will come and fill out that service request with you and we'll install that new fire extinguisher. Same thing for smoke detectors. If you got any kind of problem with any of those items, service this first, okay? Next slide. All right, don't beat me up, guys. I apologize. Right now we're having some issues with the 911, okay? But your first objective is to call 911 for all medical and fire-related emergencies. Please try that number. But the dispatcher is sitting next to another trusty little phone, and that number is 2222. But try 911 first. If it doesn't work, call the 222 number. 2222. 4 twos. Always leave the information so they can call you back, and just in case they need some additional information as well. If you are there on scene, please try to remain there on scene to kind of give us some guidance once we get there. It's very helpful. We appreciate that. Next slide. All right, you want to keep all your fire. For some reason, there's an issue here with this. And traffic is very slow. And we respond slow in most cases. So if you see an emergency vehicle responding to any kind of emergency, please find you some grass, stand in the grass. Some people will move out of this road into this road, blocking the turning radius of the truck. So just find you some grass, stay in the grass. When we pass, you'll be good to go. All right, next slide. Unlike the desert and all these other places, we do fire inspections, but we do not go into your personal location, your BQs and your homes. We do not do that. Okay, this is an Army garrison, and we have to go by AR 420, and AR 420 says we inspect common areas only. So we will not be asking you to go through your living quarters and none of that type of stuff. Now, if you do have any kind of fire safety deficiencies, test question, what do you call? Bingo! If I have some candy, I'll make it take it off. Service this, okay? Let me make sure I didn't forget anything. Okay, I work out of the fire prevention office. For the life of me, I cannot tell you what my phone number is. I never have to call it. So, but if you contact me at 2222, they'll get you in contact with me if you have any questions about anything in your area that may be on fire unsafe. All right, next slide. Smoke detectors. Second test question. You need a smoke detector. Who do you call? Smart group of people. All right, service desk. We just recently got 2 fire alarm technicians on the island. Very, very intelligent young men, and they know what they're doing. So we have a lot of systems on this island that are not the same. So if you have something that needs to be addressed in your location, please let us know. Give us as much information as you can. And please do not remove it. It may be beeping, it may be sounding off or whatever, but try not to remove it. Try not to, but I know that sound can be annoying, okay? If you have to, go ahead, just keep it so we can see it when we get there. Next slide. This is hard to see on the last side. All right. This is a problem everywhere we go. I'm not going to go too far in detail because it's self-explanatory, but what I will touch on, yes, you will see bikes in the hallway, under stairs. Do not put your bike underneath the stairs, because if there's an incident in that location, someone trips over that bike, falls and hurts themselves, now we got 2 incidents on our hands. So please, keep your bikes outside of the stairway. Don't leave one in the stairway. Next slide. All right, every work location should have an evacuation plan posted on the door. If you do not have one, you don't have to be an artist, you don't have to be Picasso, just something simple showing the exit route and a muster point. That's all we ask for. And if you do need an actual printout of the facility itself, I do believe that gentleman works in 604 or something like that, but we don't have that information on hand, so, but nothing elaborate, just a simple drawing showing the exit route. So that's all we ask for. Next slide. Again, nothing under the stairwell. Keep stairs and exits clear. From time to time, they will go around and do little inspections and make sure those stairwells are clear. So don't store anything in there. What is that? Smoking. All right. Any smokers? If so, let me be clear about this. If the colonel sees you smoking within 50 feet of a building, he will approach you. He will question you. And he will show you that sign. So don't do it. Don't be that person that he has to address. Okay? Next slide. All right. The common fires cause overseas installations. What's the biggie? Yes. All right. It's a big one here too as well. Electrical. Electrical somewhat, because these buildings are not, they're falling apart, so to speak. But yeah, electrical is part of it. But let's go to the next slide. This is very important. Approved cooking appliances. If you live in the BQ, these are approved appliances. I've heard it all. Well, the PX sells this. Why can't I have it? The PX also have to accommodate people that live in housing as well. So just because it's in the PX doesn't mean you can use it in your BQ. Okay? Next slide.
I didn't see air fryer.
I was just about to address that. Air fryers is the big one. You can use that. But this slide is so old, it came out way before the air fryers. I think Reagan was the president of the slide. Okay? Prohibited items. Ladies and gentlemen, please. No open flames, no deep fryers, no rotisseries, electric skillets, oven toasters, hot plates, new wave cooktops, woks. If it has a flame or a hot surface on it, don't use it.
Let's go back, air fryers.
Let's go back.
Well, no, on this one. You said toaster ovens. Like a lot of the air fryers are toaster ovens.
What I do believe they mean is like the open front toaster oven that you lift down and put your toast in there. That's a no-go. Because that element inside heats up pretty high. Okay? Let's go forward. I think we covered that. If you have any questions, see Clint. Clint will give you any kind of information that you need. We do offer fire extinguisher training, so I'm not going to go into depth about this right here. We just recently got a new Bull-Lex fire extinguisher trainer. We absolutely love that thing. So environmental has gotten on us about expelling agent on the island, so we can't do that anymore. So we spent thousands of dollars to make this man happy over here, okay? We just got 2 new trainers in and we'd love to use them. So if you need one, 2222, contact us and we'll set you up for a fire extinguisher class. Easy peasy. All right, next slide. Fires can happen. Be safe. Miscellaneous photographs of weirdness that has been taking place on this island. So let's please just be fire safe. Next slide. I think that's it. Any questions? And I do think that last number was the number to the office. I think. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Are you part of a crash rescue here at the airport? I work in the prevention side, but yes, they're the operations side.
Is there a crash rescue at work?
Yes, but they're actually, we're going into technicalities now. They're actually not turned on for that service because we got some apparatus coming in, so we can kind of facilitate that particular that service out there. So, but we do have firefighters that are stationed.
That's important to me because I'm one of your pilots. If we have an engine fire or something, halfway to Orlando, and then turn around and come back to here.
Oh, we got you covered if you come back here. Yeah. But we do have services out there as well. They do have the phone and all that good stuff out there.
And they can come out and rescue me and get me out of the airplane.
Yeah, we'll snatch you right on that. Get you out. Okay. Any more questions? All right. Need anything? Who do we call? Bingo. This has been a fantastic class. You guys are so smart. Guys, welcome to Kwaj. Be safe and have fun right here. Okay? All right. Thank you.